I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm actually on Discord trying to recruit people to come cover this with me because I think it is fun to hear everyone's perspective, whether they are left leaning, right leaning. Doesn't really matter what it is. So let's just go ahead and listen to this.
Vehicles. And when you decide that we're going to take all of your taxpayer money, take $1 billion.
I got some friends coming with me too. It's going to be fun.
And the batteries come from China. China controls 85% of the rare earth minerals. They're
China.
Because they're measured in parts per million. China is moving 100,000 pounds of earth in Indonesia, in Africa. They're literally destroying the planet so that they can make a battery that's in a car subsidized.
What up?
Ding, ding.
Welcome to the Lions Den.
What up?
Joe Biden, this strike is a Joe
What's up, everybody coming in? I know I haven't gone live a lot on this channel by myself, but I'm going to cover the debates as well as have every political, I guess, ideology almost up here discussing Republicans and their potential policies. It's good to have a diverse cast.
If the government shuts down, should voters blame
populist
Republicans?
Voters should blame everybody who's in Washington, D.C. They get sent down there to do the job, and they've been failing at doing the job for a very long time. And let's be honest about this with the voters. You know, during the Trump administration, they added $7 trillion in national debt. And now the Biden administration has put another $5 trillion on and counting. They have failed, and they're in the spot they're in now because none of them are willing to tell the truth. None of them are willing to take on the difficult issues. They just want to keep kicking the can down the road. And the inflation that Nikki spoke about is absolutely right, and it's caused by government spending. And that's why people all across this country are suffering tonight. And yet we don't get any answers because Joe Biden hides in his basement and won't answer as to why he's raising the debt the way he's done. And Donald Trump hides behind the walls of his golf clubs and won't show up here to answer questions like all the rest of us are up here to answer. He put $7 trillion on the debt. He should be in this room to answer those questions for the people you talk about who are suffering. And if the government closes, it's the blame. It is to the blame of everyone.
Virtue signal. Why don't you?
Who has failed. It just plays to the grandstand.
Plays to the grandstand. And to think I'm 4 minutes away from Jersey. Good old Chris Christie, man.
Chris Christie.
I can see Jersey from my window.
Please.
The people in Washington are shutting down the American dream with their reckless behavior. They borrowed.
Oh no, I hate this guy.
You're paying more.
What? He's your favorite.
They are the reason for that. They have shut down our national sovereignty by allowing our border to be wide open. So please spare me the crocodile tears for these people. They need to change what's going on. And where's Joe Biden? He's completely missing in action from leadership. And you know who else is missing in action? Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on
Here
this
we
stage
go.
tonight. He owes it to
Here
you
we go.
to defend his
Why? He's got the
GOP's
nomination. Y'all are fighting for it.
The stage for the inflation. Now, I can tell you this.
He needs to go at the person who's going to be his adversary. What up, JD?
We paid down over 25% of our state debt, and I vetoed wasteful spending when it came to my desk. And as your president, when they send me a bloating spending bill that's going to cause your prices to go up, I'm going to take out this veto pen and I'm going to send it right back to them.
Lies.
Right.
Lies.
You ain't sending it nowhere.
On the minds of a lot of moms and dads and Americans, and I know that you've been thinking about it because childcare costs, they are up. They're topping $10,000 per month. Some families are spending up to half of their income.
Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott in South Carolina.
And they're having to decide, is it worth it for me to work
right now,
or does it not make sense for me financially? In 3 days, the billions of dollars in pandemic-era funding is going to end, and 70,000 daycares could close. So you had an effort to broaden eligibility for child care assistance. That fell apart last year. And for the moms and dads out there who are worried, what can you tell them if you weren't able to get it through the Congress? How could you do it as president?
Certainly one of the things I did as a member of Congress was to make sure that we protected the Head Start programs around the country, giving people the opportunity to pick and choose the place that they send their children. The challenges that we see today under the Biden administration is that the cost for daycare has gone over $15,000 per child. In the Build Back Broker plan, he called it a Build Back Better plan, it was going up to $29,000. The way we fix that problem is to make sure that we actually cut taxes and give more Americans their money back. When I helped write the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we actually lowered a single mother's taxes by 70% on the federal level, for dual income households by 60%. Then we went a step further. We doubled the child tax credit and made it refundable. By doing that, more parents had more resources to make the decisions how to take care of their family. The one thing we should do is let the American people keep their money. When that happens, the greatest opportunities rise from the ashes.
Okay, I'm going to give you 15 seconds. Go ahead, and then we're going to the border.
Ilya mischaracterized a part of my view. I think this artificial division is unhelpful in our party. The real divide is not between the Republicans on this stage. And in the Reagan Library, I want to say these are good people on this stage. The real divide is between the majority of us in this country who love the United States of America and share our founding ideals. Free speech, meritocracy, the idea you get ahead in this country, not in the color of your skin, but on the content of your character, and the fringe minority in the Democrat Party that has a chokehold over that party. That's the real divide. So this populism.
Are we going to keep a tokenization count? All right, 1. All right, chat. We need y'all to help us out. We're going to keep a tokenization count. That's 1.
I think we're going to go on. We have all these questions. We're going to get to you. We're going to come back to you. There's a lot of time.
We're about childcare. Nobody answered the question. In North Dakota, we knew that the cliff was coming. We knew that there was going to be millions of people without it. And so guess what? We planned.
Okay.
And when we passed legislation because
we will get you some questions, but you're going to have to let us move on. We are going to the border next.
Childcare is workforce infrastructure.
I haven't been given a chance to respond.
Typical. God damn. My God.
The idea of amnesty for those who have put down roots and who have lived here, even though sometime back they may have entered illegally.
2 years later,
I need the
President
over
Reagan
there.
granted amnesty to nearly 3 million immigrants, something no Democrat or Republican president has done since. Governor Christie, as governor of a non-border state in 2010, you supported a path to citizenship. But when you ran for president in 2016, you flipped, saying immigrants should be tracked like FedEx packages. Where do you stand now on a path to citizenship for 11 million of undocumented immigrants?
The problem is that since no one has done anything since we first had this discussion 13 years ago, we're not in a position to be able to do any of that anymore. What we have to do now is first treat this like the law enforcement problem it is. Our laws are being broken every day at the southern border, every day. And Joe Biden and his crew is doing nothing about enforcing that law. They are letting it go. And by the way, they announced during the presidential race they were going to let it go. And we need to have a president who acts like I did as governor, enforce the law first and foremost. And that means what I'll do on day one is sign an executive order to send the National Guard to partner with Customs and Border Patrol to make sure.
Yes, more military. Exactly what we need. More militant action. Yes, do it. Let's go.
We want you here in this country to fill the 6 million vacant jobs.
As if we're not already militant enough.
Only if you come here to follow the law, and only if you come here legally. If you come here illegally, we will apprehend you and we will send you back across the border from which you came. And the fact is that until we set a law and order agenda in this country, not only now, but in the future, we won't be able to continue this. And I'll tell you this, Donald Trump failed on this as well. He said he was going to build a wall across the whole border. He built 52 miles of wall and said Mexico would pay for it. Guess what? I think if Mexico knew that he was only going to build 52 miles, they might have paid for the 52 miles.
Thank you, Governor.
What? Why is he even considered?
Country south of the border. You've seen the Fox News
What?
drone.
He's
It's
the
captured
best
the steady
candidate.
stream of people
Insert
coming into the
major
country
eye
on a
roll.
daily basis. In fact, I believe we have a live picture of it tonight. That is happening right now, live. In the last decade, the U.S. has spent nearly $55 billion to address the root causes of migration. But crime, poverty, and corruption, they persist, and the number of migrants
This is count
is
two,
only
another
growing.
tokenization. Let's
Are
go.
we wasting our money?
Well, what happens is when Joe Biden waved the green flag, it told everybody to come. And now we've seen 6 million people cross the border. We've had more fentanyl that have killed Americans in the Iraq, Vietnam, or Afghanistan wars combined. We need to make sure that we are a country of laws. The second we stop being a country of laws, we give up everything this country was founded on. So we have to secure the border. The way we do that is, first of all, defund sanctuary cities. You see what's happening in Philadelphia right now.
Oh, now it's okay to say defund
Damn,
something.
don't tokenize my city.
25,000 more border
3.
patrol and ICE agents on the ground and let them do their job. I spent 400 miles down
You know
that
what's
border,
sad?
and
Her
I'm
body
telling you,
language,
Border
she
Patrol
believes what she's
agents
saying
aren't
right
allowed
now.
to do their job. Let's
She
go back
actually
to remain in
believes it.
Mexico policy. Instead of catch and release, let's go to catch and deport.
What about
and
the
let's
aid that we've been? What about the aid that federal taxpayers are paying to deal with the root causes? It's not working.
The
Or is
only aid that we should be spending right now is to secure the border, the southern border, the northern border, period.
You would cut
We
off
need
aid
to
to the
keep
region?
Americans safe. And right now, Americans are not safe. Only when we fix the immigration system, only when we get the border secure, should we ever look at putting any
We
more
got any
money into
alcoholics
this.
willing to play a
Our
game
money
really
should be
quick?
about
Every
keeping
time they
Americans safe.
mention the
We're not
border
doing
or
that. Joe
reference the
Biden's not doing
border,
that. And you mentioned
take a
commerce
shot.
and shutting down government.
It's been
I'll
nice
make it
knowing
clear.
you.
We have to change the budget
I can't, it's too
process
early.
in 4 years.
Corey, you ready?
In 40 years, Congress has only
Click the link. I'm
delivered
gonna put the link in
a
the chat
budget
again.
Corey's joining us. Let's go.
in 40
Let's
years.
go.
If they don't keep the government open, they should not get paid. No pay, no budget. That's the way we should.
Governor DeSantis, we have a question for you. Governor DeSantis, China invested $12 billion in Latin America just last year.
Oh, what up, Red Pill?
Strategic partnerships with 7 countries, including Mexico.
Repeal the
And
19.
China's military ties to the region now
Yeah, I got a
include
badge.
arms sales and training exercises. Are you comfortable with China deepening ties with our southern neighbors?
Of course not. And the reason why we're in this mess is
What up,
because
Corey?
elites in DC
What
for
up?
far too long
Oh,
have
look at the
chosen
shirt. Look at
surrender
the
over
shirt.
strength when it comes to the CCP. Some people in our country got rich, our industrial base got hollowed out, and they have been able to build the second most powerful military in the entire world. We need a totally new approach to China. We are going to have real hard power in the Indo-Pacific, like Reagan, to deter their ambitions. We're going to have economic independence from China, where we're decoupling our economy, and we are going to go after the cultural power they have in this country. As governor of Florida, I
Can he ground
banned the
this?
CCP from buying land in
No.
our state. We should do that all across these United States. We shouldn't have them in our universities. We shouldn't have Confucius Institutes. So you see a country in decline, our power's in decline. China's going to surpass us this decade, and if they do that, that's going to affect every single American household. As your president, I am not going to let that happen. I'm going to reverse this country's decline. We are going to choose strength, not surrender when it comes to the CCP.
America is
What?
not a country in decline. Under Joe Biden, we are a country in retreat.
Propose, quote, universal deportation for all undocumented immigrants and their children, even if the children are citizens of the United States. Under what legal premise will you expel U.S. citizens?
So the first thing I want to say is I agree with everything. The Republicans on the stage are on the right side of this issue. Militarize the southern border.
Why would you do that?
And end foreign aid
Y'all
to
remember
Mexico and
those
Central
thick
America
Sharpies
to
back
end
in the
the
day?
incentives to come across. But I do go a step further. You're right
Like
about
the
that,
big
Elliot.
fat Sharpies.
I favor ending
That's what his hair is giving me the vibes of.
birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal immigrants in this country. Now, the left will howl about the Constitution and the 14th Amendment. The difference between me and them is I've actually read the 14th Amendment. What it says is that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the laws and jurisdiction thereof are citizens. So nobody believes that the kid of a Mexican diplomat in this country enjoys birthright citizenship. Not a judge or legal scholar in this country will disagree with me on that. Well, if the kid of a Mexican diplomat doesn't enjoy birthright citizenship, then neither does the kid of an illegal migrant who broke the law to come here. And as the father of 2 sons, it is hard for me to look them in the eye
here we
and say,
go.
you have to follow the law when our own
He's a
government fails
polished
to follow its
politician.
own laws. That's
Right.
how we really go
You
the
see that
distance
instant
and
appeal to
solve
emotion
this
right there?
problem and
Yeah.
restore the rule of law
My
in the
two
United
sons.
States of America.
Instantly, as a
Because that is
father.
part of what it really means to be an
He's the
American.
libertarian Obama.
Dude, he literally reminds me of those fat-bodied Sharpie markers from back in the day. That's what his hair looked like.
Written as it relates to slavery, not as it relates to illegal immigration. It's going to apply to illegal
here we go.
immigration. So the challenge that we face is, in fact, one that has to do with whether or not
Can't
the people
stand
that
the way
come
he
here
talks, I'm
are
sorry.
under the jurisdiction of our laws. And frankly, if you come here illegally, you are not. Now, surviving a Supreme Court argument is something I can't tell you. But from a perspective of the Constitution, I think it's simple that clearly it was designed for slavery and not for illegal immigration.
Clearly it was designed for this. Clearly.
We think about the fact that Vivek just said we were all
Can you show me where it's
good people, and I
explicitly
appreciate that,
written? Because if
last
it's that
debate, he said we were
clear, then
all
it should
bought
literally
and
say,
paid
hey,
for.
this system is
And I thought
designed
about
for
that a little
slavery.
while and said, you
It's
know,
inferred. It's
I
not
can't
clearly
imagine
stated.
how you could
That's
say
what I
that
said,
knowing
like, come
that
on.
you were just in business with the Chinese Communist
I
Party
love their
and
wording.
the same
All this
people that
misdirection,
funded
double speak, fancy
Hunter Biden
wording,
millions of dollars was a partner of
inside
yours as well.
terming,
It's
emotional
not nonsense.
appealing. Like, come on.
I want to respond. These
This
are
is
good
wild.
people who are tainted by a broken
And these are the
system. It's
people
not the
that
fault
like
of
want to
anybody.
run our
It's a
country.
problem.
Crazy.
Excuse me. Thank you for speaking while I'm interrupting. While I'm speaking.
You said
If I may finish. If I may finish.
You can't be on both sides.
Gentlemen, you'll have your turn.
One of the challenges
So listen up.
we should have
Please focus on the issues that matter. We know it makes this in China. Everybody knows that.
If I may
Focus
address
on holding Joe Biden
address
accountable.
the
That's what we need to be
I actually
focusing on.
agree with Ron DeSantis.
Speaking at the same time, no one can understand.
No, we should be holding each other accountable with DeSantis.
On China. When every other
W, self-accountability, hold each other accountability. Let's go.
But you know what I did that was different
Social
than every
credit
other
for the
company?
win.
We got the hell out of there. And when I started my next
right
company,
before you ran for
Strive, right when it, no, that was years ago. When
Ah,
I started my next
Chrissy
company, to
Nome.
compete against BlackRock. Excuse me. To compete against
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
I'm talking. He sounds like Kamala Harris. Excuse me, I'm not done.
I think you have more than time to explain your point.
Well, if I was interrupted by a lot of people here, and I want to be respectful because I believe these.
You want to be respectful, yet you're getting emotional. You seem a little angry. Calm
We're
down.
sitting here in the Reagan Library.
Yes, I wish you
In
did
the
not think it
honor
was
of
midnight.
By
Ronald
Antifa.
Reagan's Library, if I may, from one admirer of Ronald Reagan to another. From one admirer of Reagan to another,
Did
we
you not
cannot
do
see
deals with the
violate
CCP 4 years ago?
This isn't productive.
Let's have a policy debate.
What's going on?
Let us have a policy
Wait, are we on
debate.
Discord right now? I could have swore we were supposed to be watching like professionals.
Thank you very much. Vice President Pence.
Corey, this literally reminds me of like you and me having a discussion on Discord.
Yeah.
Like for a minute, I thought we were back over there.
Of the courts. Dreamers work.
They have a little
and they
more
pay
money than we do.
taxes. As president,
Yeah,
if
but
the
their
Supreme Court ends
ability to
DACA,
not speak over
would
each
you
other,
work
same
with
level.
Congress to reach a permanent solution for Dreamers?
We wanted the same.
First, let me say I'm glad Vivek pulled out of his
You
business
what?
deal in 2018 in China. That must have been about the time you decided to start voting in presidential elections. So,
Bro, would you answer her fucking question,
Let me-
man?
let me-
They
Damn.
never do. It's always a
Number one,
non-answer, right? It's always like say something that sounds
negotiated the
good, but
remaining
never
Mexican
actually say
policy
yes
with
or
the-
no
with the
or
Mexican
give a response.
we
Non-response
used
all
economic
day
power to
long.
bring the Mexican government to the table.
See, double speak. Let's
We
go.
built hundreds of miles of border wall, and despite what's said here today, we reduced
Now we're gonna
illegal
do
immigration
inside
and
while
asylum abuse
speaking.
by 90%. And as president of the United States,
And here's the
I can do it.
I wanna see
misdirection
the
with the
numbers on that.
90%. Yeah, exactly. There's the
I wanna see the
misdirection with
numbers
the
on that.
massive
Broken
numbers.
immigration system, and
Exactly.
I'll do
See,
that as well.
it's
First and
literally,
foremost,
oh my
a
God,
nation
it's
without
so
borders is
scripted.
not
It's
a
gross.
nation. And we have to secure the southern border of the United States
Now,
of America.
dry rinse,
I
repeat
know
when the next guy
how
starts
to do it,
speaking.
and we will do it again. Let me say one other thing about China.
Vice
Let me say
President,
one other thing about China.
would you negotiate with Congress to give a solution to the problem that Dreamers have
Donald,
right
if
now?
Trump was
They
here,
are on a
it would be
limbo.
great.
Let me tell you,
Just
I
great.
served in Congress for 12 years, although it seemed longer. But you know, something I've done different than everybody on this stage is I've actually secured reform in Congress. You know, Ron, you talk a really good game about cutting spending, but you've increased spending in Florida by 30%. When I was a member of Congress in 2006, right after Hurricane Katrina, Dana, you remember it, we stood our ground. I led House conservatives. We cut $100 billion out of the federal budget. It can be done, but as I said in the last debate,
So
I'll say
Nico
again,
just
this
made a
is no
good
time for
comment
on-the-job
in
training.
the
I'm
Discord.
going to
He
be
said
ready
the
on
Dreamers
day
are doing
one to
limbo.
get
Is this a
Congress to
racially
step up,
motivated comment?
secure the southern border of the United States, build a military fitted to our times, and we're going to get spending in Washington, D.C. under control once and for all.
On the other side of this break, and I propose to go to a break.
Yeah, go to a break so we can talk.
Make America safer as rising crime.
Look, these are politicians.
Are they? They
I
seem a bit
don't get.
emotional for politicians.
I agree with you. They are being very emotional with a lot of their arguments, but it's just I don't know. It's just not exciting listening to them go back and forth on a stage about the border, which is always going to be an issue. To me, all they're discussing are social issues.
To me, it
When are
seems
we
like
going to
they
get
all want
past
the same
social
exact
issues?
outcome. They're just sad that it's not said in the way that they're saying it.
What do you guys think in the comments so far? I know I'm late, but so far, when you're watching this, what do you think of the debate so far? I wasn't impressed the first time, and I'm damn sure not impressed now, but it comes with the territory. I want to know what you guys think. Here we go. Let's sell gold.
Love
it.
Shameless plug.
They are just kowtowing to what they think the voters want to hear. Okay. They're all fucking idiots. Chat's a little spicy tonight.
I mean, but they're being honest.
Seems irrelevant when Trump is polling light years ahead. I mean, we know why they're doing this. And I don't necessarily disagree with Trump having to answer to anyone. I think Trump does need to get in the ring and debate, but it should be the person who is neck and neck with him as far as the GOP nomination, the RNC nomination. That's what I think. I think it'll be him and Vivek at the end of it all. I don't think DeSantis will be there. DeSantis is a boring candidate. DeSantis inflates and conflates a lot of his talking points. And he just doesn't have that it factor to be president. The presidential election is a popularity contest. Sorry to break it to you. Y'all don't pay attention to half these things these people put in their policy. So let's not even go there. Let's not even go there. They're all weak as F. It's all trash. Damn. Nobody's happy with this. Gosh.
Give them a reason to be, though, right? Like, that's the problem. What reason do they have to be?
They don't have a reason.
Here we go. W on the chat for being honest tonight. Let's go. Keep up the spiciness.
What is this? Oh, the coffee. Black Rifle Company. Yeah.
That's
I've been seeing that coffee everywhere.
Good.
What is that? Oh, that's me. Okay. We need, hold on. We need more about saving money than the border. Vivek Ramaswamy can only one who should battle Trump. Okay, can be the only one who should battle Trump, in my opinion. Yeah. I listen. I came here for Hot Mike. You did? Or are you talking to somebody in the chat? Because I see the person talking to you. They're going to F around and find out. So you're saying, are you threatening a current sitting representative right now in the government? Is that what you're doing here? I don't think you want to do that on the internet. Not on the internet. They watching everybody. Excuse me. Definitely controlled opposition. I'm looking at the chat in Discord and I'm looking at the chat on YouTube.
Yeah, everything that they're saying is hypothetical. It's all for our RP in Minecraft.
And welcome back to the Reagan Library for the second Republican
We are
presidential
back.
debate. I do want to just remind everyone There's 1 minute for questions, 30 seconds for a follow-up, and the more you mention each other, that means if your questions you're going to get. Okay, so we want to talk about crime. This has been a horrendous problem.
What a bitch.
Oh God, here we go. This is where I'm gonna have most of my commentary.
Cities is striking fear
All right,
in the
let's
hearts
go.
of Americans. Just last night, looters took over the streets of Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, here we go.
You said in the last debate that you would use U.S. attorneys to prosecute crimes, local
all of this
prosecutors won't.
happened within like a half a mile of me.
And they could not
Like,
handle all the
up to
lawlessness,
2
the
miles. There was a little
shoplifting,
bit of
all
stuff
the
that was a little
carjackings,
further out,
the
but
armed
most of this
robberies,
was
they're
all within a half
surging.
mile to a mile of me.
Progressive prosecutors were elected by their constituents.
Hell, the one
and they
building,
can't be
the
fired
one
by a
building that was
president.
looted was
So
just a couple
what
blocks.
would you do to end the revolving door of criminality?
Well, look, Dana, the only one on this stage who's done it. For 7 years, I ran the 5th largest office in this country at the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey, and we set records for the number of prosecutions that we brought that still have not been broken. And the reason was that we went after the crime that was affecting people's lives. And as president, I will appoint an attorney general and instruct that attorney general that you are to put all the resources that are necessary to bring our cities back under control. The fact is, they will be stretched. There's no doubt about that, but that's what they take the job for, because they love the idea of enforcing the law. We've got to bring law and order back to this country, and not just in our cities, but we need the law and order back everywhere. We need law and order back in our suburbs. People are threatened there. We need it in our rural areas. People feel threatened there. And we need it in Washington, D.C. also. And Donald Trump should be here to answer for that, but he's not. And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching. Okay? And you're not here tonight, not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
Oh,
that was the dumbest thing. What?
I didn't know we were having a roast session. Though.
What does this have to do with anything?
I didn't know we had roast sessions during this. Now let's go.
Root causes of crime, especially this revolving door of the criminals. They just get out and
Oh, she's not going to say nothing to that, but when other people start
Crime in these
talking, she's going to have
cities
something to
is one of
say.
the strongest
Wow.
signs of the decaying of America. We can't be successful as a country if people aren't even safe to
Where'd
live
they
in
find these
places
people? A
like
Cracker
Los
Jack box?
Angeles and San Francisco. Just being in Southern California over the last couple of days, my wife and I have met 3 people who have been mugged on the street, and that would have never happened 10 or 20 years
Okay,
ago.
Michelle.
In Florida, we back the blue. We support the men and women of law enforcement. They are keeping us safe. We have a 50-year low in the crime rate. And yes, when I had 2 progressive prosecutors that weren't following the law in Florida, I removed them from their posts, and the people of Florida are safer as a result of it. As president,
Lies.
I will use the Justice Department to bring civil rights cases against all of those left-wing Soros-funded prosecutors. We're not going to let them get away with it anymore.
You got
We
money
wanna
from
reverse
Soros.
this country's decline. We need to choose law and order over rioting and disorder.
DeSantis is not being honest about the law and order going on. One second. I'm sorry. I don't want to forget this thought. DeSantis is not being honest. They've only had a total of, I think, 14 agencies report their data for crime, and there's over 400 agencies in the state of Florida. I just wanted to say that.
He knows he's not being honest. Look at his body language. Like I said, he's very shaky, finicky. You know what I mean? Like, can't stop moving around. He doesn't even believe what he's saying. Like her body language says, I believe everything I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying she's right, but she believes it.
On what they do. Right now, we have a lot of stolen guns on the street. Well, these law enforcement officers, they arrest these people, and then they go and they're let out the very next day. So law enforcement feels like no one has their back. We have to start prosecuting according to the law. We have to make sure we have the backs of law enforcement, and we have to make sure that we're a country.
She's not justifying what just happened, is
I don't
she?
think we spent enough time on that.
Because that was pretty clear cut.
Government's doing to
Oh, no,
hurt us
they're
against
just talking
China.
about
You
overall.
have a company, U.S. Antibiotics, that produces amoxicillin, the #1 antibiotic that we need. And right now, there is a company in Bristol, Tennessee, that produces that. Yet our federal government only gets it from China. We need to be focusing on companies that produce in America and supporting those companies that produce in America, not companies that are helping China.
Governor, we will be talking foreign policy later. Julia?
Thank you, Stuart. We're going to stay in the topic of crime because it affects all of us. Governor Burgum, for the first time ever, a Univision poll found that mass shootings and gun safety are one of the most important issues for Latino voters. Mental health concerns are not unique to the United States, but gun violence is. What is your specific plan to curb gun violence?
Well, first we need to understand is I think that the liberal left seems to be just completely bent on prosecuting law-abiding citizens that are gun owners, because every solution they have to this is take away the Second Amendment rights of Americans, and somehow that's going to solve the problem. But all these cities that we're talking about that you showed the videos of tonight, they have some of the strictest gun laws in the country. So we know that that's not what's working. What we have to do is get back to the core issues about the family. We have to get back to behavioral health and mental health. We've got to get back to actually enforcing the laws these people talked about.
Did you see the
And
comment?
like we've done in we've got control, and we're on
W.
the track to be
Michelle.
the most military-friendly state in the nation. We've got the most military and the most support of what we're doing in terms of law enforcement, because the morale is down because we've been defunding the police, because they've been attacked in the press. The police have become the bad guys when they're the one. There's all these jobs available in America. Why would you be a policeman if people don't even respect them? Every time I see a policeman, the first thing I say is thank you. And so does everybody else in my family and most of the people in our state, because they know we have to respect the people that are out there defending us every single day.
Can I answer the question on mass shooting?
Mr. Ramaswamy, according to Customs and Border Protection, about 90% of fentanyl is seized at official border crossings, and 57% of the smugglers are U.S. citizens. How would you stop fentanyl brought into the country, mostly by U.S. citizens, through ports of entry?
Oh,
There's two
dude,
sides to this, and we have
she's
to be very
narrative
honest about it.
building.
One is
What-
we do
what?
have to seal that southern border.
Wait a minute.
Building the wall is not enough. They're building cartel-financed tunnels underneath that
Why-
wall. Semi-trucks can drive.
I don't care to hear about the border. I'm sorry, you guys. They talk about the border all the time. Why did
All
she?
right, anybody
like-
anybody still sober at this point?
Wait, why did she make it a point to say that it's American smugglers?
U.S. citizens, yeah,
U.S.
57% or something.
Bro, shut up, bro. You Mexicans. I mean, not just the Mexicans. Y'all motherfuckers coming over the border. A lot of this shit is coming from Mexico. Stop the cap.
Toonie, it's because they're not pushing a narrative.
God. 58%. So American smugglers. Okay, now we can listen to Vivek.
With pumping pharmaceuticals, but with faith-based approaches that restore purpose and meaning in the next generation of Americans. Many of them are getting it through social media. And this isn't a Republican point
Stop
or a Democrat
preaching,
point.
bro.
But if you're
Jesus
16
Christ.
years old or under, you should not be using an addictive social media product, period. This is something that we
What
can
does this have to do with the
agree
border?
on, and we can revive both the mental health of this country while stopping the fentanyl epidemic that will kill more
And
people
then-
this year than who died on 9/11. And I refuse to be a passive
God.
bystander sitting in the
Oh
White House like
my
the hollowed-out
God,
husk of
no,
burnt
he
brick
didn't.
we have. We will
He
step
did.
up and address this problem to stand.
He
for
compared-
Americans and our children.
I don't know how much longer I can take of this, Toonie. I don't know how much longer I can take of this.
Bro, he pulled a Kamala Harris.
Commander-in-Chief,
Oh,
I'm
my
going to use the
goodness.
U.S. military to go after the Mexican drug cartels.
No, you're-
They are
no, you're
killing
not.
our people. And the stories that I've seen in Florida, we had an infant, 18 months. Parents rented.
I'm
an
going to use the
Airbnb.
U.S. military
And
to go
apparently
after the
people that
cartel.
rented it before were using drugs. The infant
Oh,
was crawling.
okay.
Toddler was crawling.
Let me know how
on
that
the
works for you.
carpet And ingested.
That's what we have the
fentanyl
CIA and the
residue
FBI for, and
and
police
died.
and border
Are
control.
we just going to sit here and let this happen, this carnage happen in our country? I am not going to do that. So I guarantee you on day one, this border is going to be a day one issue for me as president. We're going to declare it a national emergency. Yes, we'll build the wall. We'll do remain in Mexico. But those Mexican drug cartels are going to be treated like the
All right,
foreign
I'm
terrorist
gonna go to
organizations that they
Vice
are.
President Pence. All right, Vice President Pence, we're going to move on to a different issue. Hold on, sir. Vice President Pence.
$5 billion.
Just last month, Vice President Pence, you said if elected, you would repeal all Obamacare mandates. However, you also made that same promise in 2016.
Absolutely.
And at that time, Trump-Pence had congressional majorities for at least the first 2 years, and you did not deliver on that promise. So Obamacare, right now, it is more popular than ever. Why should Americans trust you, if you become president, to fix that, or is Obamacare here to stay?
Well, first, let me speak to the mass shootings issue, and then I'll answer that question.
Bruh.
It's an important one, Dana. Look, I'm someone that believes that justice delayed is justice denied.
How are you going to
As a
say, let me
father
cover
of
this
three, as a
first, and then I'll
grandfather of
address the
three
more
beautiful little
important
girls,
one? Aren't you
I am
inherently making
sick
this
and
one more
tired
important by
of
giving
these
it the
mass
first
shootings happening in the
attention? These
United
people
States
are
of
dumb
America.
as a
If
bag
I'm
of
president
bricks.
of the United States, I'm going to go
My
to the Congress
God.
of the United States, and we're going to pass a federal expedited death penalty for anyone involved in a mass shooting, so that
What?
they will meet their fate in months.
He just said a
not
federal
years. It is
expedited death penalty.
unconscionable that
Bro, what?
the Parkland shooter,
Oh
Ron,
my God.
is actually going to spend the rest of his life behind bars in Florida.
What does that have to do with what she
That's
asked you,
not
my nigga?
justice. We have to
Damn.
mete out justice and send a message to these would-be killers that you are not going to live out your days behind bars. You're going to meet justice in this system.
But does that mean Obamacare is here to stay?
I like that. Go back to it.
What up, Julius?
Well, thank you for
What up?
reiterating the question. Because
How's
I'd
it
love to
going, man? Are
answer.
you
Look,
just tuning in, or have
I
you
think it's
been
one
like
of the-
watching?
It's one of the choices.
I've been watching.
Like running mate,
Heck yeah.
Donald
What's your take so
actually
far?
has
If you
a
want to
plan
give
to
us a
start
quick
to
TLDR, if you
consolidate
don't
more
mind.
power in Washington,
It's
D.C.
a disaster.
That's a great way
I'm
to put it,
president
man.
of
I
the
couldn't
United
agree more.
States.
Everybody's
intention
talking
to
over
make
each other.
The federal
It's weird.
government smaller by
A lot of double
returning
speak
to
tonight.
the states those
Yeah.
resources
A lot of
and
non-answers as
programs that are
well.
rightfully theirs under the 10th
Didn't he
Amendment
say
of the
we needed
Constitution.
to?
That means all
Whoa,
Obamacare
whoa, whoa,
funding,
whoa,
all
whoa,
housing
whoa, whoa.
funding, all HHS funding
Whoa.
in a
Whoa. No, you not about to skirt past that.
That's not justice. The part is unconscionable that the of these mass shootings happening in the United States of America. And if I'm president of the United States, I'm going to go to the Congress of the United States, and we're going to pass a federal expedited death penalty for anyone involved in a mass shooting.
So he just double spoke. Y'all saw that in real time.
You on this?
Well, I think this is a symptom of our overall economic decline. Everything has gotten more expensive. You see insurance rates are going through the roof. People that are going to get
We need to get
groceries.
Corey
I
back up
spoke
here.
with a woman in Iowa, and she said, you know, for the first time in my life, I'm having to take things out of my grocery cart.
Corey,
when
I
get
heard you joined the stream. Get back up here.
The total goes up so quickly. So this is very real, and people are hurting out there. So we've got to address the underlying problem with Bidenomics, the overspending, taking all Biden's rules and regulations. I'm going to throw them in the trash can on day one. You're not going to have to worry about that. We're going to open up all of our energy. We will be energy dominant in this country. That will lower your gas prices. And what we need to do with healthcare is recognize our healthcare is putting patients at the back of the bus. We have big pharma, big insurance, and big government.
Damn, the letdown in his face right there. He thought that was about to get a lot more like drive than it did. You heard him about to hype up his voice, and nobody reacted.
Yep.
Than the national average.
Our state's a dynamic state. We've got a
Wild.
lot of folks that come. Of course, we've had a population.
It's about
boom.
time people
We
finally
also
realize
don't
that it's
have,
all shit.
A lot of welfare benefits in Florida.
mean,
You know, we
crap.
basically say we want to. This is a field of dreams. You can do well in the state, but we're not going to be like California and have massive numbers of people on government programs without work requirements. We believe you work and you got to do that, and so that goes for all the welfare benefits. And you know
I'm
what?
streaming
that's
this
done,
on
Stuart? Our
my
unemployment
YouTube
rate is
city.
the lowest amongst any big state.
Awesome.
We have the highest GDP growth against any big state, and even CNBC, no fan of mine, ranked Florida the #1 economy in America.
On the topic of healthcare, Governor Haley, healthcare is the leading cause of bankruptcy for American families, accounting for 2/3 of all personal bankruptcies. As president, how you protect Americans who get sick from financial ruin?
First of all, how can we be the best country in the world and have the most expensive health care in the world? We have an issue. My mom was in the hospital, and when she was in the hospital, they tried to bring her a couple of Tylenol, and she said, I don't need it. And they said, honey, go ahead and take it because you're paying for it anyway. Why is it that when we got the bill, the insurance company and the hospital negotiated the bill for her without her having anything to do with it? When I am president, we will break all of it, from the insurance company
No
to the
women
hospitals,
president.
to the doctor's offices, to the PBMs, to the pharmaceutical companies. We will make
yeah,
it
let's
all
just go ahead and
transparent,
get rid of
because
this while
when
she
you
talks.
do that,
Yeah,
you will
no
realize that's what your
women
problem is.
president,
Second thing is you've
period.
got to do a tort law. The doctors don't give you the 10 tests because they want to. It's because of the 90% chance they'll get sued. And then we need to bring competition back to healthcare, get rid of certificate of need systems, and make sure that they can compete. We have to put the patient in the driver's seat. They've been in the back seat for way too long. And once we give the patient the ability to decide their healthcare, deciding which plan they want, that is when we will see magic happen. But we're going to have to make every part of the industry open up and show us where their warts are, because they all have them, and we need to fix this on behalf of the American people.
And that's what we did.
Do you have a better way in 30 seconds?
Yes, we're not talking about the real problem ever. We talk about why do we have the most expensive healthcare in the world? It's because the federal government got involved the same way they did
This
with
guy
EVs,
looks like
and they
Gavin
said, we're going to
Newsom's
subsidize a particular
granddad.
kind of software
Yeah.
back in 2008 under Obama, and they said, hey, we're going to do this. It's going to make everyone more productive. All of you that are watching have been to a doctor's office when the doctor's got his back to you and their hands on a keyboard. The only industry in the world that's ever absorbed $1 trillion of IT and became less productive, they saw less patients per day, is U.S. healthcare, because they were subsidizing a certain kind of technology. It wasn't about improving healthcare. It was about picking winners and losers. Every time the federal government's involved, whether it's higher education, healthcare, or now the auto industry, things get more expensive and less competitive.
That was a great transition, because we are going to move on the future of
Oh, he was proud of that one.
What's the government's role in finding a way forward? The second Republican debate rolls on from Simi Valley.
All right, so we're on a pause. We're going to give a bit of commentary. I wrote down a few things that they were talking about. One thing that stuck out to me when we're listening is the Republicans are really, really, really pushing for the federalization of the military. And they want to, it looks like they want to militarize everything. Now,
Right, that's what I was just saying.
I don't think I'm opposed to using our National Guard to go to the border to work with Border Patrol, but getting the Air Force or the Marines or, our major branches, no, I can't support that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with using a branch of the government to actually fight for the country, because at the end of the day, you take an oath to defend the Constitution, right? Yeah. And what they're doing is in violation of the Constitution. So they're well within their rights to do this, but it does leave me a bit uneasy to hear so many Republicans okay with militarizing everything.
Because they're warmongers. they want to use our military, so in case a war pops up, they can take credit and be like, we charged, we won the. It's like, no, bro, just build that big fat wall, hire some people. Honestly, I would say they should be talking about jobs and talking about, hey, we build a wall, we can bring more jobs. I don't know why they're not talking about, that type of aspect when it comes to the economy. Like, hey, we want more jobs, build a wall, hire some more border patrol to protect it. Forget all this whole military to arrive. We need to get our Navy SEALs and coast. No, bro. How about you just build the big fat wall and people? We don't work for you. So you work for the people. So talk to the American people and say, hey, we want to build a wall because we want to get people that's coming here illegally to push them back. I actually agree with Doug Christie when he says when they come here, we apprehend them and send them right back. I agree with that. That's what it should be like. But this whole militarized, use the Army, Air Force, I'm not down with that.
What do you got, Corey?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can hear you just fine.
Okay. I just what was that first thing that you said when you said you took note? What was the first thing you said?
So DeSantis said he wanted to send the National Guard to the border to offer some more defense, and Pence made it known that he would at a federal level write a law to give an automatic death sentence to people who participate in mass shootings.
Well, here's the thing: when they militarize those forces, like it's not to protect us. So what are they protecting? Is the question. Like, so there are either institutions, wealth, property, especially like property that's owned by, conglomerates and big corporations. Like those would be the priorities. But like any military, like you go by priority. You don't go based off emotion. Like, oh, we got to save the people. We got to save the ma and pa shops. Like, no, the military isn't gonna go and do what we would think is the right thing to do. They're going to protect. the rich.
So you have no trust in that at all. That just sounds like a bunch of
No,
nonsense
but that's
to
what
you.
Republicans always do. But I mean, here's the thing: Democrats do that too. They're all for militarizing shit too. So it's like an establishment thing. Yeah, it's just. But
I sent
mean,
you a link, Liddell. I see you in the chat. I sent you a link to WhatsApp. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you good? But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, they're authoritarian. I mean, that's just what it boils down
Okay.
to. Yeah.
What about you, Chris? I think we're probably on the same page, but I do want to hear from you.
Sorry, can you recap? I honestly stepped away for a second to eat.
No, you're good. The Pence planning to make a law federalized to execute anyone who is found guilty of mass shooting. And do you agree with DeSantis militarizing the border?
No, I think we're already over militant.
You think so? Okay.
I think we're over militant. Yeah, I've been actually speaking on this for about a decade now, that we've been becoming more and more militant every day, and because they've been smart enough to do it slowly, we didn't take any notice or real arms to do anything until it was too late.
So you think it's too late to really, really secure the border because
I
the
think
damage
it's
is
very
done?
late. I don't know if it's too late, but I definitely think it's kind of late.
Okay. I don't think I disagree with you.
It would.
I think it's too late, but I also see it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. Let's pick this up again after the show because I do think this is a sticky point. It's a sticking point because I understand everything. I understand both sides of this argument. Okay.
To our questions, Governor Haley. American students, they are in academic trouble. They have lower scores in math and reading. There's chronic absenteeism. That's at record highs. And this has even been called education homicide.
Okay.
You say school choice is the answer, but South Carolina, your home state, still has not enacted universal school choice, and even the current expansion won't be fully implemented until 2027. Parents can't wait 4 years for a fix. So what would you do right now?
Well, and school choice isn't the only answer, but I'll tell you it's not out of a lack of trying that we didn't try and get school choice in South Carolina. What I'll tell you, first of all, is we have to acknowledge the fact that 67% of our eighth graders are not proficient in reading or math. Over 80% of our eighth graders aren't proficient in history or civics. And recently they came out and said our 12 and 13-year-olds are scoring at the lowest levels they've been scoring in reading and math in decades. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to make sure we catch our kids back up. We have to make sure they can read. A child that can't read by third grade is 4 times less likely to graduate high school. We need to do reading remediation. We need complete transparency in the classroom. No parent should ever wonder what's being said or taught to their child in the classroom. We need to make sure that we have school choice so that there's competition. We need to move all the programs from the federal government down to the states and let states decide what education looks like in their states. And we need to start building things in America again. Let's put vocational classes back in our high schools, and let's get our kids building the things that we know that we can make. When we start to focus on that and really bring in that parental involvement, that's when we'll start to see a difference. But we've got to get parents back included. We've got to quit spending time on this DEI and CRT and instead focus on financial literacy, on digital literacy, and on making
digital literacy for
what
what?
they need to do to have the jobs
Well, never
of
mind.
the
Never
next
mind.
generation.
Never mind. I get it. I get it.
On the subject of education, a question for Governor Christie. Students in your state are getting high marks on their report cards, but minorities are not doing well with math and reading. Black and Hispanic students averaging 29 points lower than white students in New Jersey. Would you address minorities first?
You have to address all students. And look, in our state,
What?
Stuart,
See?
before
Answer
I
the
was governor,
question.
that gap was close to 50%. And what we did was institute more charter schools and more Renaissance schools and more public school choice in New Jersey with innovative solutions in cities like Camden, where now we took what was the worst school district in America during my time, and we have now increased that by nearly 40% in terms of their proficiency. It can be done when you give people choice. But let's tell the truth to everybody about what this is. This public school system is no longer run by the public. It is run by the teachers' unions in this country. Randy Weingarten and her crew are absolutely strangling. They are taking the worst of their members and defending them rather than advocating for our kids. And when you have the President of the United States sleeping with a member of the teachers union, there is no chance that you could take the stranglehold away from the teachers union every day. They have an advocate inside the White House every day for the worst of their teachers, not for our students to be the best they can be. A President of the United States is to take on the teachers union. I did it in New Jersey, and I will do it as President of the United States.
Yeah, but you didn't answer the question.
Governor DeSantis, I have a question for you.
Answer the question on minority
This
students.
new Black History curriculum says, quote, slaves develop skills which in some instances can be applied for their personal benefit.
Let's go.
You have said,
Let's go.
Slaves develop skills in spite of slavery, not because of it. But many are still hurt. For descendants of slaves, this is personal. What is your message to them?
So first of all, that's a hoax that was perpetrated by Kamala Harris. We are not
No,
going
it's
to
not.
be doing that. Second of all, that
No,
was
it's not.
written
He's
by
lying. I read it
descendants of slaves.
myself.
These are great Black history scholars, so we need to stop
Oh,
playing these
fuck,
games.
bro.
Here's the deal.
I'm about to pull
Our
this shit up.
country's education system is in decline because it's focused on indoctrination, denying parents' rights. Florida represents the revival of American education. We're ranked #1 in the nation in education by U.S. News and World Report. My wife and I, we have a 6, 5, and 3-year-old. This is personal to us. We didn't just talk about universal school choice, we enacted universal school choice. We didn't just talk about Parents' Bill of Rights, we enacted the Parents' Bill of Rights. We eliminated critical race theory, and we now have American civics and the Constitution in our schools in a really big way, just like President Reagan asked for in his farewell address back in 1989. Florida is showing how it's done. We're standing with parents, and our kids are benefiting.
Senator Scott, you oppose to these new standards. What is your message for Governor DeSantis?
There is not a redeeming quality in slavery. He and Kamala should have just taken the one sentence out. America has suffered because of slavery, but we've overcome that. We are the greatest nation on earth because we faced our demons in the mirror and made a decision. So often we think that all the issues, you talked about crime and education and healthcare, we always think that those issues go back to slavery. Here's the challenge though. Black families survived slavery. We survived poll taxes and literacy tests. We survived discrimination being woven into the laws of our country. What was hard to survive was Johnson's Great Society, where they decided to put money, where they decided to take the Black father out of the household to get a check in the mail, and you can now measure that in unemployment, in crime, in devastation. If you want to restore hope, you've got to restore the family, restore capitalism, and put Americans back at work together.
Hey, Tim
as one
Scott,
American
how you gonna
family.
fix fatherlessness?
Our nation continues to go in the right direction.
It's a real question.
That's why I can say
Answer it.
I have been discriminated against, but America is not a racist country. Never, ever doubt who we are.
See,
We are
the Republicans do the
greatest
exact
country
same
on
thing
God's green
Democrats
earth.
do.
And frankly,
We're not
the
racist.
city on
Look,
the hill
I'm
needs a
black.
brand new leader.
See?
I'm asking for your vote.
See?
Come on, bro.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
Come on, bro.
2.7 million students in over 18,000
Ooh, the
public
boss
schools
is here.
nationwide have the ability to
What it
change
do, what
their
it do?
identity without
What
parental
up?
notification.
What's up? What's
Governor
up?
Christie told Stewart last week that he would pass a federal law to protect parental rights. Would you try to do the same?
I have to be very clear about this. Transgenderism, especially in kids, is a mental health disorder. We have to acknowledge the truth of that for what it is. I met 2 young women early in this campaign.
On parental rights in school.
I am
Parents have
different,
the right
and my
to
head
know.
is the shape
And
of
you
a
know what
moon.
the hypocrisy of this is? Even New Hampshire failed to actually get past a piece of legislation here. The very people who say that this increases the risk of suicide are also the ones saying that parents don't have the right to know about that increased risk of suicide. And I'm sorry, it is not compassionate to affirm a kid's confusion. That is not compassion, that is cruelty. I met 2 young women, Chloe and Katie, early in this campaign. who are in their 20s now regret getting double mastectomies and a hysterectomy. One of them will never have children. And the fact that we allowed that to happen in this country is barbaric. So I will ban genital mutilation or chemical castration under the age of 18, and parents have absolutely
would you try to pass a federal law that says parents should have that right?
We are going to require states absolutely have to follow that through.
Governor Burgum just to follow up on this
rights.
because
Yes.
you in your state you do not have a law that says
I sometimes
parents
wonder
can't
why
be
they
notified.
just can't answer
But you
the
want
question.
To be president.
Just,
would you try to pass a
just
federal
be
law to say
base.
parents
Answer
have
the question.
that right?
Like,
I think
just
this is a
say
state's
no.
issue,
I ain't
but I do
passing
want to
that
say
shit.
something because all night long we've been talking about issues about how it's broken in Washington, and I respect all of the people on the stage here for their 100+ years of public service. Thank you. But the reason why we're not talking about education or healthcare or safety being a problem in North Dakota is because we have a business leader. I've got more experience as a business leader than I think this whole group combined. I know I've created more jobs than everybody else on stage, thousands of high-paying jobs that have real meaning. So as a business leader, you come in and you treat the taxpayer like a customer. So in North Dakota, instead of fighting with the teachers' unions, we actually created a K-12 coordinating council. Everybody gets in the room and the customer is the student.
But you do understand that this is an issue that many people in America really are concerned about, worried about parents and notification in schools.
Yes, and that's why we have 50 platforms of innovation. That's why we have states. There are certain things the federal government is supposed to do. It's not the Department of Education that needs to be assembled. We got to move it back to states. Do what we did in North Dakota. Instead of like, oh, here's a choice school and here's an old school, the old way with the teachers union, the kids are trapped. We made every school in North Dakota an innovation school. Every school got out from under the red tape, and the things that help teach the values that we're trying to get, like 4-H, like FFA, like Boy Scouts, they can get credit for all of that stuff in North Dakota. And by the way, North Dakota is now at the top of the median SAT scores in the country right now.
Vice President Pence, the Department of Homeland Security warns that violence against LGBTQ+ people is on the rise and intensifying. According to a recent study, members of that community are 9 times more likely to be victims of violent hate crimes. As president, how would you protect this community from violent
by their own
attacks
people
and
who go against the
discrimination?
narrative.
Well, as President of the United States, I'll
Let's
stand
go.
up for the safety and the civil liberties of every American from every background.
He don't believe a
And I want the
damn thing
American
he
people to
just
know
said.
that.
He don't.
I
Did you
know.
see
I wanna
that?
answer
Did you
question
see
as well,
the
Dana, that you just asked
discomfort?
Joe Burke.
Oh man,
Because
that
by
was
way of
the
full disclosure,
fakest
Chris, you
thing I've ever
mentioned
heard.
the president's
once,
situation.
man.
Right.
My wife
And I
is a
thought
member of
like
the
my
teachers
kids
union,
telling
but
me
I
the
gotta admit,
unicorns were real was fake. Holy.
I've been sleeping with a teacher for 38 years. And for full disclosure, look, education is a state and local function.
Man, can you
State
please sit down,
one of the
bro?
very first school choice programs.
Sit your
in the
butt
country.
down, man.
And when I was governor of the state of
Mike
Indiana,
Pence was
to
like
your
an
question,
old
Dana,
to the
let's be
Eminem.
very, very clear. When the
Look,
Linn-Mar
lose
Community
yourself in
Schools
this
in
conversation.
Iowa
He's so
had
confused
a
right now.
policy where you had to have a permission slip
You know he can't
from your parents to get a Tylenol, but you could get a gender transition plan without notifying your parents. I weighed in.
Bro, they talk about
That's
violence
policy.
against.
That's crazy.
I was about to say
We're
the
gonna
slur.
stand up
Like,
for the
get
rights
back
of
on
parents,
subject, my
and we're
guy.
going to pass a federal ban on
Look at
transgender
Liddell, y'all.
chemical or surgical
This is
surgery
funny.
anywhere in the country. We've got to protect our kids from this radical gender ideology agenda.
You didn't even
We've
answer
got
the
to empower
question.
parents at the state level with the ability to choose where their kids go to school, whether it's public, private,
Sit 'em
parochial,
down,
or
coach.
homeschool. You empower parents, and
Take 'em
our
out the
schools
game.
will straighten up and reflect our values and focus on the basics faster than you
Feed
could
this food.
possibly
What's up,
imagine.
MC? What's going down, Cole? What's going down?
Can I just say one thing?
A lot
Mike,
of
Mike Pence, more like Mike Rentz.
China is investing heavily in their tech companies. $280 billion every year on semiconductor research and development. That is 1 CHIPS Act per year. Governor DeSantis, you say companies like Google and Meta have too much power. Doesn't going after them give China an edge?
No, I think you look at how our societies develop, they have huge amount of power over our society. They've cracked down on free speech. We're not saying you don't want them to do business, but you want it to be a free market. And right now they're monopolies. But this issue of China, I think, is really going to be fundamental. We have subcontracted out so much of our national needs to the CCP. We rely on them for a whole host of issues. We need to reshore and we need to decouple all those important industries. We need to get that back in the United States. They are our top geopolitical adversary by a country mile. Xi Jinping's got huge ambitions, not only in the Asia Pacific, but as you mentioned earlier, in our region. But ultimately, we've got to beat him on the economy. And so that's what we'll do as president of the United States.
Governor Christie, I wanted to follow up on this because 22% of American workers fear their jobs will be lost to a robot. And you said in the past that the free market is the way to go. Would you retrain workers who lose a job to artificial intelligence? And to do what?
Well, look, what I think artificial intelligence offers us is an extraordinary opportunity to expand well beyond the productivity that we have now and to have Americans be able to be involved in that revolution, Dana. You know, each time we have shown incredible innovation and progress in this country. What we've done with it is to expand all kinds of new, even unthought of opportunities for folks. Yes, we have to do retraining for folks who lose some of their jobs. And we should be doing that. And we should have more training available both at the county college level and the local level for people to be able to access it. So yes, I would be in favor of that. But this is a much bigger issue than that. We can't be afraid of innovation. America has been the great innovator of this world over the last 250 years, a technological innovator, a manufacturing innovator, and a freedom and governmental innovator. And that's why America has to continue to stand strong in the world, pro-innovation, pro-progress. And I will tell you this, as President of the United States, what I will do is to make sure that every innovator in this country gets the government the hell off its back and out of its pocket so that it can innovate and bring great new inventions to our country that will make everybody's lives better.
Mr. Ramaswamy, TikTok is banned on government-issued devices because of its ties to the Chinese government. Yet you joined TikTok after dinner with boxer and influencer Jake Paul. Should the commander-in-chief be so easily persuaded by an influencer?
So the answer is I have a radical idea for the Republican Party. We need to win elections. And part of how we win elections is reaching the next generation of young Americans where they are. So when I get into office, I've been very clear. Kids under the age of 16 should not be using addictive social media. We're only going to ever get to declaring independence from China, which I favor, if we actually win. So while the Democrats are running rampant, reaching the next generation 3-1, there's exactly one person in the Republican Party which talks a big game about reaching young people, and that's me. And let me level with all of you. I'm the new guy here,
bro.
and so I know I have to earn your trust. What do you see? You see a young man who's in a bit of a hurry, maybe a little ambitious, bit of a know-it-all, it seems at times. I'm here to tell you, no, I don't know it all. I will listen. I will have the best people, the best and brightest in this country,
bro.
whatever age they are, advising me. We will be probably many of the people included. That's how I built my companies. I want I want people who
that strategy is actually pretty smart. What you just did.
America great because we're not a perfect nation. We're founded on the pursuit of perfection. That is what makes America great. And that is why we will end it once we win this election.
I get it, Liddell, but I don't know.
I have to jump in here. I'm sorry. There's one person on this.
This is infuriating because TikTok is one of the most dangerous social media apps that we could have. And what you've got, I honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say. Because I can't believe they
repeal the 19
TikTok situation. What they're doing is these
shots fired.
Okay, here we go. People are on TikTok. That means they can get your contacts, they can get your financial information.
They can do that with any app you have on your phone.
Bruh. This is important. This is very important.
No communism.
This is very important for our party, and I'm going to say
you've gone and you've helped China make medicines in China, not America. You're now wanting kids to go and get on the social media that's dangerous for all of us. You went and you were in business with
you're on Facebook, bro. What's the difference?
We can't trust you. We can't
On
trust
Twitter,
you.
you can trust.
TikTok and
I think that
this is very important.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 15 seconds.
I think, excuse me.
15 seconds, Mr. Ramaswamy.
Thank you. I think we would be better served as a Republican Party if we're not sitting here hurling personal insults and actually have a legitimate debate about policy.
W, let's fucking go, Sharpie, man. Let's go, Sharpie.
I'll agree with that big dog.
I believe in these people. These are good people on the stage. They disagree, but let's have a legitimate disagreement. That's what I would say.
W
Repeal
for sharp.
Jamie.
Back to the question. The
No, we
question was
cannot.
on
Governor
technology.
DeSantis,
There's
I'm
one
going
person
straight.
on this stage
Sir,
that has a
we
career in
will have to
technology.
cut your mic, and I don't want to do that. I don't. So, Governor DeSantis, let me go to you. Experts say President Putin has ordered assassinations across Europe, cheated on arms control treaties with the U.S., and seeks to work with China to force our decline. President Reagan believed that if you want to prevent a war, you better be prepared to fight one. Today, the Republican Party is at odds over aid to Ukraine. The price tag so far is $76 billion.
Wow.
But is it in our best interest to degrade Russia's military for less than 5% of what we pay annually on defense, especially when there are no U.S. soldiers in the fight?
Thank
It's in our
you.
interest
Good question.
to end this war, and that's what I will do as president. We are not going to have a
can't
blank
end the
check. We will
war.
not have U.S. troops, and we're going to make the Europeans do what they need to do. But they've sent money to pay bureaucrats' pensions and salaries and funding small businesses halfway around the world. Meanwhile, our own country is being invaded. We don't even have control of our own territory. We have got to defend the American people before we even worry about all these other things. And I watch these guys in Washington, D.C., and they don't care about the American people. They don't care about the fentanyl deaths. They don't care about the communities being overrun because of this border. They don't care about the Mexican drug cartels. So as Commander-in-Chief, I will defend this country's sovereignty.
But it's not a territorial dispute. It's
Okay.
never been a territorial
All right.
dispute.
And
Wow.
90% of the resources that we send over to Ukraine is
Where
a
this fool
guarantee,
been
it's a
at?
loan. It is not 90% of the money that we send over there is loan. Well, we can talk about this, but at the end of the day, 90% of the money that we send over there.
And go ahead, make this man the head of HUD.
It's not actually
It's
not
they're
because
not
of Ukraine,
paying
it's
it
because
back,
of the NATO,
Tim
or NATO.
Scott.
So I think it's a
Number
good
one.
Like-
topic.
I
It's a
think
good
it's a really good
topic for
topic too,
debate.
but I will say, let's
I'm writing
let's
this down.
debate the fact
Bruh.
that our national
Bruh.
interest is in degrading the Russian military. By degrading the Russian military, we actually keep our homeland safer, we keep our troops at home, and we all understand Article 5 of NATO.
We have
When
to
in fact-
level with the American people.
I thought you said something about waiting until your turn to talk. So
think that
hold on.
respectful
So at the end of the day,
Will you
I'm
be
going
able
to
to
finish my. I'll be happy to
Go
debate
ahead, and then
this.
I'll respond.
I'll look forward to this one right now. So at the end of the day, when you think about the fact that if you want to keep American troops at home, the attack on NATO
This
territory would bring us and our troops in. By degrading the Russian military, we reduce, if not eliminate.
This dude sounds
an
like
attack
the head of
on
HUD.
NATO territory.
Finish that exchange.
Man,
We have to level with
sit
the American
down,
people.
bro.
We have to level with the American people on this issue. The
Ben
reality is
Carson 2.0.
just because Putin is not Putin's an evil dictator does not mean that Ukraine is good. This is a country that has banned 11 opposition parties.
A win
Thank
for
you.
Russia is a
That
win
is
for
not
Thank
China.
you. Tell the
Russia-
truth,
Russia is a
Vivek.
win for
Excuse
China.
W.
But I forgot you like
You'll
China.
have-
That's
nope,
why you're
you'll have your
Shut
chance
up.
in
Let
just
him
a moment.
talk.
The hurling personal insults isn't helping. China is the real enemy, and we're driving Russia further into China's arms. We need a reasonable peace plan
Finally.
to end this, especially this is a country whose president just last week
Vivek,
was
if
hailing
you
a
let
Nazi in
Putin
his own
have
ranks.
Ukraine, that's a green light to China
answer is-
to take Taiwan.
We need a
No, it's
reasonable
not.
What are you
plan
talking about?
No, it's
White
not.
pigs, shut up.
Communist Party of China's
No,
rule.
it's not. This guy was a former VP saying that. What?
President Biden's first 2 years have brought China, Russia, and Iran closer together. Are we focused too much on Ukraine and not enough on this threat from the new world order?
No, they're all
Good
connected,
question.
Stuart. They're all connected. The Chinese are paying for the Russian war in Ukraine. The Iranians are supplying more sophisticated weapons.
So
and
are
so
we.
are the North Koreans now as well, with the
Exactly.
encouragement of the Chinese. The naivete on this stage from some of these folks is extraordinary. Look,
Wow.
I understand people want to go and talk to Putin. Guess what? So did George W. Bush. So did Barack Obama. So did Donald Trump. And so did Joe Biden when he said a small invasion wouldn't be so bad. Every one of them has been wrong. And the fact of the matter is, we need to say right now that the Chinese-Russian alliance is something we have to fight against, and we are not going to solve it by going over and cuddling up to Vladimir Putin. Look, Donald Trump.
We're cuddling
said
up to
Vladimir
Zelensky.
Putin was brilliant and a
Facts.
great leader. This is the person who is murdering people in his own country, and now
So is
not having
Zelensky.
enough blood, he's now going to Ukraine to murder innocent civilians and
Lies.
kidnap 20,000 children. And
Lies.
let me tell you, if you think that's where it's going to stop, if we give him any of Ukraine, next will be Poland. This is a guy who said, wait one sec, this is a guy in 1991 who said that was the darkest moment in world history when the Soviet Union fell. Listen, everybody,
Proxy
he wants to put the
war.
old band
Pay
back
attention
together,
to what they're
and
saying,
only
guys.
America can stop it, and when I'm president, we will.
What up, Sean?
Governor Burgum, I want to get to Governor Burgum. He hasn't had a chance. I have a question I think you're going to
Proxy
really like,
war.
or at least you have experience in it. And we need to talk about America's farmers because there is a foreign policy connection here. The U.S. and China are in this fierce economic competition. It's hurting American businesses, and there is blowback against American farmers because China then targets them
Who is this
in
guy?
retaliation. How would you, as president, protect American farmers and ranchers from that kind of
Bizarro
retaliation
Gavin
from a
Newsom.
foreign government like China?
Well, first of all, we've got the best farmers and ranchers in the world right here in America. If they have a level playing field, they can outcompete anyone in the world. But this is part of the larger issue that we're talking about here, which is we're in a Cold War with China. The Biden administration won't admit that. But we're also in a economic war through what we're doing with agriculture and energy. And we're also in a war with them relative to cyber war. We get attacked every day in North Dakota, every state, every school district, our tribes, all being attacked every day by either China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea. And now we've got a Biden administration whose whole policy is appeasement. They're out there, creating the world, making it less safe. $6 billion they traded for 5 people. They've just now set a price on anyone's head who's a tourist from America, who's a student from America for kidnapping. If you want more kidnapping, put a price on it. And then they're also helping Iran get to have more closer to nuclear weapon, which pushes all of the Middle East closer to China and Russia. The whole thing is absurd. And then, of course, we're going to give Ukraine to Russia, and then we're going to give Taiwan to China and think that's a foreign policy. That will make our nation less successful, make us more poor. And at the core of all that is energy policy, because China imports 10 million barrels of oil a day. They're the largest import in the world. And we've had 4 cabinet members from the Biden administration there this summer, and none of them talked about U.S. energy. The first one to go to each of those countries was Kerry to talk about the folly of the climate policy, which is making the world less stable. It's empowering dictators. It's not about climate change that we need worried about. It's about the Biden climate policies that are actually the existential threat to America's future.
Thank you.
I agree with that, to be honest with you. He's right about that. He's just boring.
Who supports sending U.S. military into the country, quote, scoundrels. Mexico is the United States' most important trade partner and border security. You say you will send special operations to attack the cartels in Mexico. So this means boots on the ground, drone strikes?
It means special operations. It's how we deal with our terrorists. And what you need to do is understand that Mexico's not being a good partner if we lost 75,000 Americans last year. Mexico's not being a good partner if they're letting the cartels get away with what they're getting away with. What we will do is we will make sure that we send in our special operations, and we will take out the cartels, we'll take out their operations, we'll take out anything that's doing it. But we're going to go after China because China is the one sending the fentanyl in the first place. And we will end all normal trade relations until China stops sending fentanyl. And then we'll do the special operations and we'll get it from both sides. This is where President Trump went wrong. He focused on trade with China. He didn't focus on the fact that they were buying up our farmland. He didn't focus on the fact that they were killing Americans. He didn't focus on the fact that they were stealing $600 billion in
The farmland
jurisdiction
is the states. What are you talking about?
They didn't focus enough on the fact that all of our law enforcement drones in America are Chinese, and we've got all these little surveillance cells. We need to start focusing on what keeps Americans safe. That hasn't happened in a long time. As your president, I will make sure every American is safe, and we'll do whatever it takes to make that happen.
So what she said, y'all, was we're going to federalize everything because the state is not capable.
Yeah, exactly. What she said was just trash.
You're all auditioning for the job as president of the United States. You want to earn these votes. But the world's problems land in the Oval Office. During the presidential debates in the year 2000, neither Al Gore nor George W. Bush was asked about al-Qaeda. Yet, just 1 year later, al-Qaeda's attack on September 11th claimed nearly 3,000 lives. And the farther we get from September 11th, the closer we are to September 10th. Senator Scott, you have no executive branch experience. What has prepared you to protect the nation from a major man-made national security crisis.
One of the things I've had the good fortune of doing is serving on committees in the United States Senate, like the Senate Armed Services Committee. I'm on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, also on the Finance Committee and the Banking Committee. Talk about addressing the issue of fentanyl. I've written the legislation, passed it through the Banking Committee and the Senate that would freeze the assets and sanction the accounts of the Mexican cartels. There are weapons that we have within the arsenal that I was able to get past 23-0 in the polarizing Senate as it is. I've also understood without question the fact that if you look at the details before 9/11, there was information and intelligence that was available that suggested an attack was coming. Having the right intelligence partners with us is key to making sure that we prevent the next 9/11 from ever happening. Having that experience for the last 10 years is really important in getting the job done.
There's 30 seconds to you, Mr. Pence.
Well, I think you asked a question about executive experience, and I think it's vitally important. And I stand before you today as a candidate for president because I think this country's in a lot of trouble. And you hear the fire on the stage tonight. You hear the fire in all of our voices. And it's because Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. This is a time for those of us that have the experience, the tested experience, and a commitment to the conservative agenda that Ronald Reagan brought forward in this party of a strong national defense, standing with our allies, standing up to our enemies, supporting limited government and traditional values, need to step forward.
Understood.
Because frankly, our party does face a time for choosing, as they said at the top of this debate, whether we're going to stand on the foundation of that conservative agenda,
Boring.
or whether we're going to follow the siren song.
Boring. Go to
None of
sleep.
these people are conservative.
Go to bed.
I'm the most experienced, most qualified, and most consistent conservative in this field, and I'm ready to
You
lead
didn't answer the
America
question
home
about
on day one.
Time for choosing to go to a
Somebody
break.
in my chat says send the fly.
It's a coalition that lasted decades. Can any of these
All right,
candidates
we're
do the
we're
same?
going on a break. What question didn't he answer that he could have answered easily? I'm sorry, I've been taking notes all over this notebook.
Well, I ain't
when
taking
Mike
no
Pence,
notes at all. It's been trash the whole time.
yeah, when Mike Pence talks, I go,
is this real?
Oh man, I mean, can we talk about Kristi Noem not understanding how ownership
Nikki
works?
Haley? You mean Nikki Haley?
Nikki Haley, I'm sorry. Can we talk about Nikki Haley not understanding how property works and who's in charge of, who has jurisdiction over people buying up property in states? Because it's definitely not the Fed.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you about that. Because again, I'm not really familiar with that aspect, but you said that she basically said, oops, sorry. She said, you said that she basically trying to federalize everything and not leave it up to the states.
Well, when you say that China's buying up all this land and nobody's done anything about it, well, yeah, the state's not doing anything about it. So because the state's not doing anything, she's like, all right, let's just federalize it. Since y'all don't want to do anything, let's bring it up to a federal level and we'll do something about it. And all these people call for smaller government, but are okay with government overreach when it comes to things that they feel really justified about. You're either for small government or you're not. Pick a struggle.
Yeah. Okay, that makes
Sorry,
sense. That's all
Nikki
from
Haley,
this,
not
man.
Kristi Noem.
Yeah,
What do you think
Nikki
so far,
Haley,
Liddell?
Number one, none of these guys have a shot.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Not at all. I'm still disappointed. DeSantis, he's up there like a dead body. Vivek, he sings polished, but there's something about it. I'm like, man, something ain't sitting right.
Yep.
Number 4, Mike Pence, enough said about that. Number 5, Chris Christie, enough said about that. And then the Northam got a guy from, I think, North Dakota. I don't know enough about the cat at all. I got to do some more research on him as well. This has
Same
been
here.
probably, this was worse than the first debate. This is bad.
Horrible.
This is, and I mean, now I see why Trump says, I don't need a debate. He ain't never lied. This This is laughable. He probably sitting there, man, and Mar-a-Lago laughing like, look at these fools.
Probably.
Look at these morons, man. And I'm gonna say this here: if Trump if he gets the nomination, I will not be surprised if he chooses Byron Donaldson as his VP.
Yeah. One thing that really stood out for me was Tim Scott saying that the money that we're giving to Ukraine is indeed a loan. So when I heard him defend 76 billion as a loan, yeah, I want you to talk about that. I'm going to grab that clip and really focus on the fact that he called this a loan. A loan.
Okay. A loan means you got to pay it back. Now, if he's saying that we borrowed the debt from the future, and so what they did, I can understand his construct there.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my question: who gonna pay for it?
Who
gonna pay for it? The money fairy? The tooth fairy?
They can't even fund their own war. How they gonna pay us back?
We are paying for the 401k and retirement funds for their public service, the firefighters and the police officers. We're paying for that.
Yep, we're paying for that.
So how they gonna pay us back? That's what I'm saying. These are some dumb questions. This is no damn debate. This is a sophomore discussion. It's trash.
Trash. All right, we're back.
We're here in California, where gas is nearing $6 a gallon. Oil is close to $100 a barrel again. You say, drill, baby, drill. But the courts won't let you. Mr.
How many people are
how would
watching
you
this?
bring down prices without immediate drilling?
Total or am I
I
live?
think that we do have to run
Total.
through the courts
On
and
Rumble?
get through that
Let me see.
administrative
Yeah.
state to make sure we're using the natural resources here
250
at home. But here's the other thing that we can
56,000.
do
It
that's
would take
easy,
forever, Mr. Ramaswamy.
and it addresses the national debt as well as brings down prices. Put people back to work. We are using taxpayer money to pay people more to stay at home than to go to work. That is wrong. That contributes to our supply chain crisis. It contributes to inflation. That's the easiest way to unlock this economy. And here's the other thing. We have to put the Federal Reserve back in its place. This is an agency that has gone rogue. So in January 2026, when I have the opportunity as our next commander-in-chief, we will have a new chairman of the Federal Reserve who places priority on dollar stability. And then most importantly, send packing 75% of the administrative state, reduce the federal employee headcount by 75%, rescind 50% of unconstitutional federal regulations that are shackling businesses, both large and small.
But how do we
Offer
get
a
it
very
done?
clear,
This
practical
sounds
plan
good.
to do it. That's how we unleash the economy. That's how we revive the integrity of a three-branch constitutional republic. Rather than
Tough
this
to do.
technocracy that
I'm glad he actually said
stops
some specifics. That's gonna be tough to do.
I think one of the signature accomplishments of our administration was in just a few short years, we achieved energy independence. We became a net exporter of energy for the first time in 75 years.
Thanks to Trump,
Day
not you,
one,
Pence.
Joe Biden declared a war on energy, which was no surprise because when Joe Biden ran for president, he said he was going to end fossil fuels. We've been
Fracking.
working overtime to do that ever since. If I'm president of the United States, we're going to open up federal lands. We're going to unleash American energy. We're going to have an all of the above energy strategy. And I have a plan that actually would not only reclaim energy independence, but in 2006, America lost our position as the leading energy producer on earth. I believe in the next 10 years, with the right policies and experienced leadership in the White House, we can reclaim our role as the leading energy producer on earth, and that'll grow the American economy for generations to come.
Yes, yeah,
I like what they made. He was specific. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Liddell. I hear it, but I just don't hear a how.
So, you know, the
You know
first
what I
thing
mean?
I'll say is
I don't hear a
what I
how.
saw at the United Nations is energy security is national security. We need a president that understands we have to partner with our producers and make sure that we have their backs. What you don't need is a president who is against energy independence. Ron DeSantis is against fracking. He's against drilling. He's been against, you did it. He always always talks about what happens on day one. You better watch out, because what happens on day two is when you're in trouble. Day
She has
two
no
in
shot.
Florida, you
She's attacked
banned
people.
fracking, you banned offshore drilling, you did it on federal lands, and you took green subsidies that you didn't have to take.
Governor DeSantis, you were
It is
mentioned.
true.
You have the
Look at
right to
day two.
respond. 30 seconds.
Yeah. I just did a plan out in West Texas for American energy dominance. We're going to choose Midland over Moscow. We're going to choose the Marcellus over the Mullahs, and we're going to choose Bakken over Beijing, and we are going to lower your gas prices. We are going to get that job done because it's important for our national security. It's important for jobs, and that's one of the best ways to drive down inflation.
Governor DeSantis, Governor DeSantis,
What has this been the whole time?
Governor DeSantis, this question is for you.
Our voters enacted a constitutional
You
amendment
banned it before they
doesn't
voted.
allow. No, it's not true.
You banned it before they voted, and not only that, they didn't vote on
fracking. Totally wrong. They voted it
Check
in.
it.
That's
Check
what we
it.
did. Onshore, we do it in Florida. We don't have as much as maybe West Texas, but we do it. But that was a constitutional. So that's just wrong. And let's just get real here. My plan will get the job done. We are going to be energy dominant, and that's what's going to happen.
And the voters didn't even vote on fracking, and you banned
We are
fracking.
moving on with this question for Governor DeSantis. Governor, excuse me, we cannot talk over each other. We must respect each other's time. My apologies for that.
I'm ready, Stuart.
Governor DeSantis, this is your question. The Biden administration is hell-bent on student loan forgiveness, but you say colleges should be on the hook when graduates cannot pay their debt.
Talk to your partner.
How does that address the cost of college? How does that the cost of college itself?
Because the colleges are going to have to make a decision. Do we expand the gender studies department, knowing some of those graduates may not have great learning opportunities? No, they're going to focus on the things that really matter. They're going to make different choices. They're going to try to graduate people in 4 years. I also just want to come back to something Dana asked last segment about 9/11, because I was just at the 9/11 memorial with the families. My wife and I were invited. It's very touching to be there, and it affected my life because I ended up joining the military.
Here we go, lies.
I've been a blue collar kid.
Here we go.
Did you not join the military?
Ended up getting through Yale.
He didn't fight in a war. He was the
Somehow came out
JAG.
more conservative than when I went in, and that is not easy to do. Had a lot of opportunities to make money, but I wanted to serve, and I'll never forget coming back on the plane from Iraq, landing in Coronado, California, North Island, and feeling that breeze off the Pacific Ocean and say, you know what? I am lucky to have been born an American, and I think being able to serve, and I'll be the first president elected since 1988 who's actually served overseas in a war. I think that's going to help me as commander-in-chief.
You didn't fight a
to
war,
know
bro.
How you see
Stop
these
saying
issues
this
and
stuff.
understand that there are real
Big
lives
dog.
at stake for people.
Yeah, I have no idea
And
about
we know
this,
that
buddy.
Governor
I'm
Haley's
just learning for the
husband is
first
serving
time.
right now.
Damn,
as well. We
bro.
thank him for that. Senator Scott, the national debt has nearly doubled in your time in office. The approval rate for Congress is at a mere 19%. If this were a business, you'd probably all be fired in Washington, but you're here tonight looking for a promotion. In 2013, Governor Haley hired
I like
you
that.
for the
She
Senate.
said you'd
I'd
probably
like
be
you to
fired.
tell her why you should be promoted to CEO of the nation instead of her.
He's right.
Certainly. One of the things I'd say is if you look at our national debt of $33 trillion, I would love to have an opportunity to have this country pass a balanced budget amendment. That would constrain the spending in Washington in the same fashion that it does in every state in our nation. Number one. Number two, if you want to actually reduce our national debt, you have to grow our economy. In order to grow our economy, you need to create about 10 million jobs to grow our economy at 5%. You can do that in three specific sectors. Number one, the energy sector. We could create between 3 and 3.5 million jobs if we unleashed all of our energy resources. America is we're the richest country if you combine coal, gas, and oil. Why not unleash all of our resources? Number two, we've lost 100,000 factories. 100,000 factories in the last 25 years. If we continued on my Made in America plan, we could bring jobs back to America in a similar fashion that we did when I wrote the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. We actually lowered the corporate tax from 35% to 21%, reshored or repatriated $1.7 trillion. We brought the unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians.
Yeah, but how are they gonna bring all these? How are they gonna incentivize them to come back?
He said it. He actually said it. Lower regulations, lower taxes.
Okay.
He actually said it.
Well,
Okay.
I think, look, I appreciate Tim. We've known each other a long time, but he's been there 12 years and he hasn't done any of that. He hasn't. They've only
Neither of
given-
you. do?
4 budgets on time in 40 years. He was part of that. He increased the national debt. He voted for the spending.
You voted
He has
for
made sure that the
you
borders are
actually
open and
asked
they
for a
haven't done
gas
anything.
tax
Look at
increase
everything
in
that's
South
happened.
Carolina.
12 years. Where have you been? Where
I
have
voted
you
no
been,
on all.
Tim?
I voted on
12
most of
years.
the things.
We've
I
waited
have
and
voted most.
nothing has happened.
Here's what you've
12
done.
years.
Here's the thing that I
12
just find interesting.
Ron, let me finish
All
this
these
first.
guys have said
Here's the
things,
fact.
and I appreciate a lot of the things they're saying.
Nikki
I'm the
Haley.
only one up here who's gotten in the big fights and has delivered big victories for the people of Florida, and that's what it's all about. You can always talk, but when
You're
it
right about
gets
that. I
hot
give
in
it to 'em.
there, when they're shooting arrows at you, are you going to be stand up for parents' rights, keep the state free? Are you going to be able to do all those things? And in the state of Florida, because of our success, the Democratic Party lies in ruins. We have won the big fights. We have turned our state into a Republican state. People respond to leadership. I've done it while others have talked about it.
CEO, we actually have a CEO in the White House, which is what I think we need. If I may just briefly interject here, we need a zero-based budgeting. That's the way businesses are actually run. Start with zero as the baseline for the budget and then see what's actually necessary. There isn't a blue state or a red state in this union that does it. The federal government doesn't do it, but successful companies, including the ones that I've built as a CEO, will do it. And I think we have a CEO in the White House to get that done.
I'm liking that big dog.
Yes, go ahead.
You didn't ask the only guy.
Yeah, that little Sharpie's making some pretty good points.
I was going to say right now, you say nobody else has done it.
He
The
still
energy
looks like a
plans that have
Sharpie,
all
though.
been announced in the last month by these other guys on stage. We're already doing it in North Dakota. The border plans they're already talking about. We've got troops down at the border flying helicopter missions from North Dakota, from San Diego to the Gulf Coast, trying to stop transnational criminal organizations from inflicting the invasion and the mass casualties in our state. And on the energy policy, we're already doing it. It's not saying when nobody else done the big fights.
Hashtag Team Sharpie. Let's
We won the
go.
battle to get the Biden administration, who was ignoring the law. They were the first administration since Truman that wasn't holding the quarterly required lease sales, and we won that in federal court. WOTUS, we won that in federal court. We're fighting the Biden administration on 20 fronts. To say that nobody's fighting the big fights, just look at the record of what we're doing right now. Energy, economy, national security, I've been talking about it since day one, and now finally good, we're having the conversation about it, but we've got the answer in North Dakota.
Governor Burgum, let's talk big government. This
I like what Team Sharpie did, brother.
Keeps getting bigger.
Zero.
One fifth of all new
Doug goes
jobs
along
this
with
year
Team Sharpie.
have been created by the government. Governor Burgum, you
My
say
man,
you want to
Yo,
shrink
it's
the size of
W.
government.
Yo, Team
It has been a century
Sharpie.
since any president has done that. Why would you be any different?
Well, because we've done it in North Dakota. When I took office, we shrunk
Because
the
of my
state
anecdotal
budget, general
experience,
fund, by
that's why.
27% in the first 4 months I was office, and we have all
Julia
the
said,
trains still running on time. Why? Because you had a business leader that was actually there. Inside of every government job, there's 10 or 20% of mind-numbing, soul-sucking work that even the state and federal employees don't
Listening
want
to
to
you
do.
talk
And you
is
could engineer that work out
mind-numbing.
of the job.
He
That
sounds
would
like
free up
Don
right there
Jr.
20% of 2 million civilian employees. And by the
Yeah,
way,
he
we
kinda
got
does.
10 million
Civilian.
jobs open. They'd have plenty to do, and they could be generating
All right,
taxes
Rabbit.
instead of being
He
paid
said
by
2
taxes.
million civilian.
This is
Let's
totally
go.
possible to do it if you have somebody that understands. Because having worked in technology for 30 years, everything we had to do was to be better, faster, and cheaper the next day. That's what we can do in government. That's what we're doing in North Dakota.
All right, Governor DeSantis. I want to ask you about something that I think is on a lot of Republicans' minds. This election could come down to less than 50,000 votes in 3 states. Abortion was on the ballot in 6 states in 2022. Republicans lost all of them. Next year, abortion will likely be on the ballot in Arizona. That is a must-win state. Governor DeSantis, how are you going to win over independent, pro-choice voters in Arizona?
Same way we did in Florida. We won the greatest Republican victory in a governor's race in the history of the state, over 1.5 million votes. We were winning places like Miami-Dade County, Palm Beach, that nobody thought was possible because we were leading with purpose and conviction. I reject this idea that pro-lifers are to blame for midterm defeats. I think there's other reasons for that.
What Donald Trump
The
was
former
saying on Truth
president,
Social.
he's missing in action tonight. He's had a lot to say about that. He should be here explaining his comments to try to say that pro-life protections are somehow a terrible thing. I want him to look into the eyes and tell people who've been fighting this fight for a long time. My wife and I earlier today were at the gravesite of President and Mrs. Reagan, and I noticed that there was a quote where it says, every single person has purpose and worth. we're better off when everybody counts. And I think we should stand for what we believe in. I think we should hold the Democrats
He's
accountable
rebounded
for their
well.
extremism, supporting abortion all the way up until the moment of birth. That is infanticide, and that is wrong.
Let me ask Governor Christie.
He's rebounded pretty well so far.
Yeah, because Trump was getting on pro-lifers.
Do you think the Republicans can do that in Arizona if this referendum is on the ballot there?
She's aged well,
because I
too.
did it in New Jersey, Dana. You know, it's
Then why are all these other states losing?
well because they don't have leaders in those states who are leading the fight the way it should be led. And in fact is, look, I was a governor here of the only blue state that's represented up here. This is where the fight is really tough for Republicans. And those are the states that we're going to have to try to win if we're going to win the White House back. And what we did was 14 times, Dana, in 8 years, I vetoed Planned Parenthood funding. 14 times. No one else gets it that much. The Democrats just kept sending it to me, and I kept saying no because I believe in life, but I also believe in states' rights. And I think we fought hard against Roe versus Wade for decades to say that states should make these decisions. So we're going to have those fights in the states. But what you need is a leader who can talk to people and make them understand that if you're pro-life,
And that
you
ain't
have
you,
to be
big dog.
pro-life the entire life, not just the 9 months in the womb.
Holla at
And
your
we've
player.
talked
Go
a
sit
lot
down.
about fentanyl tonight,
I hate to
and
say
we haven't
this.
spoken one moment about
A
treatment.
lot of these states
But we
still
need to make
legalize
sure that for the
abortion with
drug
abortion
addicted
pills.
16-year-old on the floor of the county lockup, her life is precious too. And we need to be providing treatment to cure this as a disease that it is. If you're pro-life, you got to be pro-life for the entire life. We start talking like that, they're going to do what I did in the blue state, which was get reelected with 61% of the vote and won 70% of independents and 51% of Latinos because I told them the truth from my heart.
Thank you.
Vice President Pence, the latest Univision poll found that 73% of Latino voters think the Republican Party doesn't care about or is being hostile toward them, the Hispanic community. Only Governor DeSantis has translated his campaign into Spanish. How will you reach out to Latino voters?
Try to talk Spanish.
Well, I promise you that we're going to continue to build bridges to every community in this country. And I'm incredibly proud.
Why
of
is he lying?
tax cut and tax reform bill. I worked
In this
on
country.
Capitol Hill to
Really
help get that
don't
bill
like the way
passed
he
into law.
talks.
Neither do I.
Largest
And he
tax cut in
pauses.
American history. We saw
It's like
literally the
Obama
lowest
meets
unemployment ever
like
recorded for Hispanic Americans. The lowest unemployment.
Why did not talk
ever
about black
recorded
folks?
for African Americans. 50-year low for women.
Hey,
What
look
is
at
black-
that
what about
platform
black
we were
issues?
on.
States needs to be a champion.
They ain't said
of
shit about black
voting
issues.
for
They keep
every
bringing up the
American.
goddamn beaners, though.
It begins with the unborn and the aged and the infirm.
He's
And it begins with every ethnic group in this
yo
country.
soy
And I promise you, if I'm
employment.
president of the United States, I'll be a champion. I'll be a champion for the American dream, for Hispanic Americans, and for every American. So help me God.
Senator Scott, reaction?
Lies.
Yes, there's no doubt that if you lead by example, it's the best way to get the job done. If you look at my office in the Senate, my chief of staff is the only Hispanic female chief of staff in the Senate. I hired her because she was the best, highest qualified person we have. What we need are leaders who lead by example. And I will simply say, I would love to finish my conversation with Nikki as it relates to the job that needs to get done. Nikki offered a 10-cent gas tax increase in South Carolina. Talk about someone who has never seen a federal dollar she doesn't like. 10 cents on the gallon in South Carolina. As the UN ambassador, you literally
Bring it,
put
Tim.
$50,000 on curtains in a $15 million subsidized location. Next.
You got bad information. First of all, I fought the gas tax in South Carolina multiple times against the establishment.
No women presidents. I don't even understand why she's bothering talking.
The gas tax, the establishment, the companies
Get back in
wanted
the
me to do
kitchen.
it.
A true Republican isn't gonna vote for her anyway. So like, what is she doing?
Get back in the kitchen. I'm
You
hungry.
will give me 3
Make
times
the
the
Moss sandwich.
deduction in income
Make
tax,
me a Nikki Haley
then I will look at
sandwich.
your gas tax and why it didn't happen.
I like my tomatoes thinly sliced.
On the 50 million.
Here is a nice part.
Secondly, on the curtains, do your
Yes.
homework, Tim, because Obama bought those curtains.
Did you send them back?
It's in the
Did you
press.
send them back?
It's the state.
He said, "Did you send them back?"
Do your homework, Tim. I did mine from the kitchen. I mean,
Did you send it back?
This dude's very composed, or he's like stoned. Either way, I'm cool with it. Like I'm cool with it either way. He's very composed.
They're arguing over curtains, bro.
And I
Like
like
this,
the
these are
fact
the
that
people who
like
want your vote.
he's like
She
robotically
laughing in the
animated.
background. You see her? She's laughing back there. She's like, "This is crazy."
Hashtag animated
They're arguing
robot.
over freaking curtains, bro. Like, bro, what?
Well, did you send them back?
Did you send them back though, Nikki?
I just want to know how that dude's gonna be so animated and robotic at the same time.
Because I'm Tim Scott. America. It's not a racist country.
But you
That's
know
why I
what?
say, like he's so animated and robotic.
I'm gonna take this time to be a typical black person and be upset that we're not ever mentioned. How come we're not
Wow,
ever
I can't partake in this
mentioned
conversation.
I mean,
outside of like police brutality and racism?
Way to just oppress me.
Shut up, white man.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm angry.
I'm sorry. But what, like, how honestly, like, let's just have a, what is it called? What does Charlemagne call it? A nigga reality check.
Oh yeah, the nigga wake up moment. Yeah, I mean, listen,
yeah.
if Larry, as much as Larry Elder bombed that interview, if he was there, he would have brought those issues up at least.
He would have. I got to
So,
talk to you about that, Liddell.
Side note, those two clips, isn't that crazy? Those two clips.
We have to have a panel.
I want my hour. I want my hour and a half back, Sunny.
Listen, we need to have a panel to do a reaction together. Joe, me, you, and Liddell. We have to.
I was gonna go live on YouTube tomorrow and talk about this because I didn't know what else to talk about. I haven't gone live in so long, so I'm gonna go live and talk. If you guys want, I'm so down, but just let me know. Or if not, we can do it Friday and just do it on your show, and I'll stream it on mine. We'll do like that.
We can do that too. Look, I'm just, man. Listen, Larry answered. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, we'll give you full context. But for right now, we're just, we're talking. He's supposed to be there. He actually mentioned that on the interview that we're talking about. It's called the Higher Learning Podcast. If you guys want to go watch it yourselves, it's about an hour and 35 minutes. Actually, no, an hour and probably 20 minutes because they spent the first half of the show talking about whatever.
The first 60 minutes about
yeah. Look. He answered every idiotic question they asked him. Every question they asked him, he answered until they got to the point of asking him, "What are you doing?" He refused to answer the question. And they did not set him up. For the people who were like, it was the setup. They were really respectful to him. I was shocked at how chill they were. I really was.
I mean, they had that back and forth. The guy's like, Larry. Like there was back and forth, but at the same time, it was, to me, it was just one of those debates that you always see. So the whole conversation was just asking him question after question after question with disagreements. Then when she's like, listen, I hear what you're saying, but what are you gonna do about fatherlessness? So are you saying that it doesn't exist? Are you trying? And it's like, bro, just tell them what you're gonna do.
Answer your question.
Knock this out the park and make that go viral. But instead, and then he was asked a second time. And he's like, so you're gonna acknowledge? Like, how can I answer something where you don't acknowledge it doesn't exist? It's like, no, she says she acknowledges what you say. She's just wondering what you're going to do.
Yes.
In other words, he didn't answer the question.
Yeah,
no, he
twice.
didn't. Twice he didn't answer it.
Trash.
So
we were bringing this up to Synergy. That's why I want to have this conversation. I know for
what did he say?
Well, you know, Synergy will placate for the right until the death of him, especially if they are a black conservative. He's got the hardest time being objective when it comes to this.
Yeah, he talks like Tim Scott. He's like, I hear you. But when I'm trying to get you to understand, he's like Ben Carson and Tim Scott mixed together. I'm trying to get you to understand. Did I hear you?
He said, "Y'all are looking for the perfect candidate." I'm like, bro, I just want him
Whoever
to answer
got
the
that clip,
question.
send that to me ASAP. I know one of y'all clipped that. Let me
No,
get that.
were you there? Maybe you weren't there. We were talking about Larry Elder. I had Julius was up there with me. Said came up. I think Deontay came up, and we were talking about the interview that he did with Higher Learning. Did you see that live?
Mm-mm.
I didn't see Chris or Liddell in that. I don't know if Liddell
Huh.
popped in.
I wouldn't know.
Larry Elder didn't answer the question because the problem is he ain't did shit and ain't gonna do shit. Why we won't
My
just
man,
address
Joe.
it?
Let's go, Joe. Let's go, Joe.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. We're back on.
Mathematical path. Yes. Governor DeSantis, in order to try to beat President Trump, who has a commanding and enduring lead in this race.
So polls don't elect presidents. Voters elect presidents.
Right.
And we're going to take the case of the people in these early states. We're going to do it in a
I
state-by-state
hate that
election.
hose.
And why? Because as Reagan said in his day, this is our time for choosing. We are not getting a mulligan on the 2024 election. Republicans have lost 3 straight elections in a row. We were supposed to have a red wave with inflation at 9%. It crashed and burned. Not in Florida, it didn't. We delivered it in Florida.
Bruh.
And so we've got to choose right. We've got to win. And we need somebody that's going to be able to serve 2 terms. So in January of 2023, they'll be able to address the nation saying, we turned the economy around, we secured the border, and we fended off the threat from communist China. As your president, I will get that job done.
Governor Christie, I believe I did see you write something. Governor Christie, I believe, excuse me, Governor Christie, I believe I did see you write something on the card. Who was it?
No, but I'll certainly tell you.
Okay.
Look, I think I've been the only one on this stage who's been clear about this. I vote Donald Trump off the island right now. And the reason I vote him off
Why?
the island,
any of the people on the
because you know
stage
what?
off the-
Every person on this stage has shown the respect for Republican voters.
What?
They come here to express their views honestly, candidly.
He doesn't
and
have to
directly,
come up
and to
there
take
and
your
debate
questions
y'all.
honestly. I have respect for every man and woman on
You don't
this
think he
stage
does?
because they've done it. Vivek, put your hand down
Nope.
for a second, would you?
I don't.
I still got
No.
time, dude. So
I'll tell you why after.
Here,
I'll tell you why
okay.
after.
This guy has not only divided our party, he's divided families all over
No, he
this
hasn't.
country. He's divided friends all over this country. I've spoken to people,
Yeah,
and I know
I
everyone
disagree
else
with
has, who have sat at Thanksgiving dinner or at a birthday party
People
and can't
divided
have a
themselves.
conversation
I know,
anymore
exactly.
if they disagree with Donald Trump.
Governor
He needs to
and
be voted
candidates.
off the island, and he needs to be taken out of this process.
You're just mad because he called you fat. Let's keep it real.
Yep. But he is fat. You see his
I have a different view on this.
gobble
I think
gobble
Trump
floating
was
around
an
every time he
excellent
shakes his head.
president. But the America First agenda does not belong to
Doug
one man.
Christie.
Thank
like,
you.
It does not belong to Donald Trump. It doesn't belong
I
to
like
me.
him lately. What the
It
heck?
belongs to you, the people
The
of
people.
this country.
Thank you.
And the question is, who's going to unite this country and take the America First agenda
The
to the next
people.
level? When we rally
Hashtag
behind the cry to make America great again,
Team
we
Sharpie.
don't just hunger for a single man. We hungered for the unapologetic pursuit of
Ramaswamy,
excellence. So yes,
your
I will
15 seconds are
respect
up.
Donald Trump and his legacy because it's the right thing to do. But we will unite this country to take the America First agenda.
I don't know if
to
any of
the
you
next level.
like.
And
Do y'all know
that
who
will take a
George
different
Watsky is?
No.
This dude reminds me. The way he speaks reminds me of George Watsky. Like I wonder if he ever like did any
All right,
studies at
it's
Emerson.
over.
I'm curious if he did any studies at Emerson.
I don't know, but he studied Obama, which is probably why we're all like,
He's so good.
he's so
No,
good.
his phrasing is good. His wording is good. Like he's very good with his wording and phrasing. I'll give him that.
Well,
He still
look.
look like one of those like graffiti Sharpies. I don't care what anybody says.
So Nikki Haley dropped the ball on the Fed getting involved and who owns state land, which is stupid. Senator Tim Scott calls Ukrainian aid a loan. They barely talked about Black education. I don't know if you guys noticed that, and how our
Right.
literacy scores are in the shitter.
You gonna tell me? You gonna tell me almost $1 trillion is a loan?
It's a loan, according to Senator Tim Scott.
Where do I sign up?
Um,
I'll take just a mill. Just a mill.
DeSantis lied because he, in fact, did say that slaves benefited off of slavery. And he also decided to deflect and not answer the question. And I have the clip right here. I have the clip right here, buddy. Let's play it.
We got the clip.
Can't hear it.
Yeah, I can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
Well, you should talk to them about it. I mean, I
Can
didn't
you hear that?
involved.
She asked him,
Yeah.
so you can't hear her because she's in the background, but she's asking him the question on slaves benefiting from slavery.
Okay.
Well, you should talk to them about it. I mean, I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it. But I think what they're doing is I think that they're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life. But the reality is, all of that is rooted in whatever is factual. They listed everything out. And if you have any questions about it, just ask the Department of Education. You can talk about those folks. But I mean, these were scholars who put that together. It was not anything that was done politically.
I'm going to read what it says verbatim. And I've done a show on this. Liddell was there. I think you were there, Julius. I've done a show on this. I pulled up the curriculum. It says verbatim. Okay. How slaves develop skills in which some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. What were slaves doing at the time? According to compulsory education, not according to what we all know, but according to compulsory education, slaves were second-class citizens. They had no rights. They could not read. They could not write. So explain to me how you are not saying slavery benefited them when you only depict us in one way, which is dumb and enslaved.
Well. Now one of the writers of that portion, a black professor, actually spoke on this on Megyn Kelly's show.
Did he now?
He actually wrote
I would love to see that clip.
I'll send you the clip. He actually wrote it, and he actually said that Governor DeSantis didn't say that. He actually listed out from a historical standpoint. It's an old black man saying that, hey, a lot of the slaves back then, what they were doing is they were doing work, and when they were set free, they took those skills they actually learned and built a life for themselves outside of slavery. He unpacked that. He really did. This is a black professor who wrote it.
Okay, so then DeSantis was right that it was a hoax.
What's a hoax?
What Nikki Haley was is that where I'm getting that, Adele? You're saying that what DeSantis was saying was not true. It was true. He was saying that slaves didn't benefit from.
Well, what he was saying was what this professor was saying. He was saying how they were positioning that attack on Governor DeSantis was actually incorrect. He said, because we wrote it. He took ownership on it. And then he unpacked it. That's how he did it. I'll send over to you the link from Megyn Kelly. The guy, he unpacked it. Black professor, old man, he's looking like he's in the 75, 80s. And he unpacked that thing, boom, line by line.
Well, DeSantis already said it, that whatever is written in there is in factual standards, which I still disagree with, because you're still saying that blacks benefited off of slavery, no matter if a black person or a white person said it. And that's absurd.
Here he is. I'm sending it to you right now. He actually unpacked this. I watched it and I said, interesting. He really unpacked it.
Yeah, that's all. That's all I'm trying to get cleared up. I was trying to get cleared up if DeSantis said it or not. Like, did he say it or did he not say it? That's all I was trying to clear up.
He's not going to stand there and get roasted.
I sent something to you in the private chat.
Okay.
Take a look at it and see. I looked at it, I listened to the whole thing. I was like, And he comes out and flat out and says, what the VP is saying is flat out lies. This guy said that. I said, interesting. Well, okay. All right then. And how he unpacked it, he said that the slaves during slavery, although slavery was terrible, they actually learned some skills, and they were
Yeah.
able to, once they were free, they took those skills they actually learned and built a life for themselves after slavery.
But
That's
that
what he
still
was
implies that they didn't have those skills before they came here.
and they may, I don't know. I'm repeating what he actually said, because the
Yeah.
attack was, from what this video was talking about out of his mouth. He was saying that Governor Sanders said that slavery was good for black people, and what this guy says, that's a big flat lie. Let me tell you why. He unpacks it.
Oh, okay.
This is from his mouth, not mine.
Okay. No, I know. That's all I was trying to clarify just so I can know for myself. What DeSantis said was that slavery is good, but this guy says that DeSantis is wrong, and then you're saying that he details all.
Yeah, he details it, and he says, no, we wrote that. This is why we put that in the curriculum. He unpacks what they put in there, why they did it, and the history behind it. It was very eloquently unpacked.
Okay.
But yeah, the link is in the private chat, guys. You can check it out for yourself. And if I'm wrong, let me know. I'll
Yeah.
No, I'll watch it. It just, to me, the overarching point still stands. Republicans are still pushing legislation that is, in essence, critical race theory on the right, because they're still discussing theories.
Sure. In some contexts, you're actually spot on. If that's your point, rocking with you. I'm rocking with you.
Yeah. That's my overall point, is we're not against CRT. We're just against the left's version of CRT.
my whole thing is my whole thing is this here is how can I say this in a way it makes some sense? My whole thing is this here is, it seems to be that a lot of Black history begins and ends in slavery.
Yep.
What about afterwards?
They want to talk about that.
Stop it there.
Yeah, what's interesting too is that I read something about California, how it wasn't a slave state, and there was actually a woman who became a millionaire. She was like one of like the few first Black women who became a millionaire, even during times of slavery.
You're talking about Madam C.J. Walker?
No. This was a different woman. I forget her name, but I thought it was interesting. I guess the point I'm making is that, of course, there's always history about slavery, but I think that, again, what Liddell said, it always starts and ends, but we want to talk about the afterwards, like who was doing what, families, and this and that. We just, like, we always look at the bad stuff. And I'm not saying we shouldn't acknowledge the bad stuff. I'm just saying we should also acknowledge that there were folks who overcame the bad stuff. That's why, for example, when you look at like the Tulsa, right? People on the one side, on the more left-leaning side, would say, well, sure, they rebuilt it, but it's the fact that it happened. Do you know what I mean? So, but then the other side is like, listen, we acknowledge it happened, but look at how they overcame such a terrible situation. And I think that's always the colliding conversation.
Yeah, I think that I always tell this. There is beauty in toiling. We tend to kind of discount the struggle, and I'm not saying this to make slavery good, not at all. But what did we as a people learn during that time frame? How did we adapt? Because from what I can see, we're one of the most resilient races on the planet. I mean, resilient.
So you think there's? Go ahead.
No.
So are you saying there's beauty in the struggle?
Yes, there's beauty in some struggle because of the fact that this here. Like I give you an example. My daughter, she goes to a private school, and she sees a lot of third and fourth generation affluent families. I'm the first in my family generation wise. That's a multimillionaire. And what happens is this here is what I've seen a lot of times is she began to see a lot of the mismanagement of success. And so what she would say is, Dad, these kids are not making wise decisions. I'm like, well, some of them are not, and sometimes you don't either as well. To be honest with you. But then what happens is the one thing I love what T.J. would say. He said, removing the toil away from your kids will wound them more than it will help them, because it creates an entitlement mentality. That's why when the Bible says you will work by the sweat of your brow, that's there for a reason. There is some value in working hard for success. Whenever it's just given to you, you will mismanage it because the success, you're not ready for it. The success will crush you every single time. Like for instance, for me, and I'll land the plane here. My mom dad never taught me about credit, business credit, how to manage the budget, how to save, how to spend, how to build my personal credit. Nothing at all. I had to go and learn that. Was it hard? Yes. Did I begin from behind? Yes. Did it suck sometimes? Yes. Would I change it? No, because it taught me how to hustle, grind, and outwork you. It didn't matter how much money you got, how many contacts you got, you will never outwork me. I will catch up to you because I'm going to outwork you. If you wouldn't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm rocking with you. If you ain't working at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to crush you. Because your access can only take you so far. And that's one thing about African Americans. We are so good at knowing how to make sense of chaos. Because that's all we've known a lot of the times. So we can speak order to chaos. No, that's like have you ever looked at it? Like I am so enamored at black mothers and fathers, but mamas, how you guys, Sunni, man, when it comes to how you guys run the house, it could be chaos. And y'all go here, do that, do that, do that. And I'm like, whoa, it's just built inside of you. And I'm like, damn, she just spoke order to the house. How she do that? How she do that? Like me, we like, sit your behind down. I want your behind. Mama's like, okay, you got 5 seconds. and I'm begin at 3. Okay, really got 3 seconds. And so I'm like, damn. And so there is beauty in the struggle. It only becomes beautiful at your perspective of the struggle. If it's always negative, the struggle is going to crush you. If you can look at the
I see what you're saying.
Without negating the negative, you can catapult yourself easily. That's why
I see what you're saying.
I never lose, I always learn.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's actually a better way to look at struggles. I, for one, I've never looked at struggles that way. My struggles is just like, okay, I struggled through that. I'm not trying to go back there, but I don't feel like I learned anything from it. And to me, when I have to go look and observe my struggle, it causes more pain than it does pushing me forward. And maybe that means I'm not over it. Who knows? But I can't recognize any beauty. I don't recognize any beauty there. It's just like, nah, I'm not. No, there was no beauty in that. Of course, I am who I am today. But I don't think I got there because of my struggle. I think I got there because I started taking ownership for my shit.
I agree with that. But there's some characteristics that you learn through the struggle, Susu, that cause you to make that pivot. Look at your belief in Christ. How is it beautiful to die on the cross? How is it? How is it beautiful to get beat and you're innocent of everything?
I see what you're saying.
But the text says all things work together for the good of those who love those that are called to his purpose. How is it beautiful for me to lose my son? How? It doesn't make any logical sense until you invite Christ into the equation. Every single time. And so that's how I could cry over Michael, but also praise Christ as I hold my son and my hand's dead.
Yeah.
There's beauty in the struggle. What it looks like in each context, it's different.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's all kind of piggyback on what Liddell, or from what Sunny, you were saying, the struggle thing is that I think there is even ownership in the struggle because, you know, even with my struggles. You know what I mean? I would say that I'm the person I am today because I went through those struggles. Because it made me realize that going through that made me see what I'm seeing today, which is the truth. You know what I mean?
That's good. That's good. Go ahead, Susu.
I don't think I don't think I'm detached from that struggle. There's times where I like to give the hoarder example. When you have a hoarder, right, and you start to clean out things from around them, they get very uneasy. It doesn't feel natural. They're used to that being there. I'm like that with my struggles. Like my family is my number one vice and struggle. Always, I think they always will be. They're just my number one struggle. And I'm talking about my parents, all that. I can remove that situation and be perfectly fine. But there's always a part of me somewhere, whether it's talking to a family member or I'm just always inviting that back in until I get burnt again. And it's like, okay, I don't like that. But then I distance myself, right? Observe the struggle and then bring it right back in. That's the only problem I have with it. I think I have an emotional attachment to it.
And that's okay. It's natural to be emotionally invested in the struggle. Yeah. It's a gift that God has given you. Emotions. I think at times we discount emotions as an impediment. It's really a gift. It's really a gift. So it's logic and reason. And so what I would say is, and I had to learn this. I had to really learn this. Is when the scripture says all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord that are called to his purpose, the natural inclination is, okay, Lord, how is this good? When asking the question with the right perspective and honest of God is saying, okay, Father, give me wisdom on how is this good for me?
Right.
Because Father, I can't see it. It sucks. I'm hurting. I can't hear you. I'm by myself. Yet I will submit. One of the questions that I actually asked the Lord, I was driving in the car and I'm bawling like a little baby. And I said, Father, this hurts. Because I can't blame my wife, the doctor, my kids, or the nurse. The loss of Michael's on you. We were going to deliver him Monday morning. You allowed him to be taken away on Sunday morning. 24 hours, Lord. 24 hours. And the Lord said, son, tell me what you feel about me. I said, Lord, I want to cuss you out. I want to spit in your face. I want to flick you off. And he said, you know what, son, I can understand that. He said, but can I get a different perspective? I said, sure, Lord. He said, you don't think it hurt when I saw my son get beat for doing nothing? He said, this is the one that really hurt me is when my son asked me, why have I forsaken him? He knew the reason why, and I had to turn my back on him. That was the first time my son had been separated. He said, I know what you went through because I had to allow for my son to pay for your sin. Yours, not his, yours. Then I responded and I said, Lord, but your son got up. And in 3 days, I sent him to you. And right now he's at your right hand. But the son that you allowed for me to have, you allowed to be taken away, Father. And I can't see him to glory. And even you control that. Y'all, his answer was, you were correct and discussion was over. That was, I'm God. You are not. Be okay with that. And I said, I will submit. That's why I'm okay with the unknown. The one toil that man can't stand is the unknown.
Yeah, that's facts.
The unknown. You're not supposed to know everything. If you were supposed to know everything, you would know everything.
You would know it, yeah.
That's why Christ said, I'll make all things known upon my return, which means you ain't gonna know some stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's why people have a hard time with believing in God because it's like they almost want to be equal to him by knowing the things that's going to happen. And it's like if we all act like gods, we end up being demons. You know what I mean? Because we all want the power.
Because we're not just.
Yeah.
We're not just. We are easily led astray. We are easily tempted. We don't like accountability. Can you imagine? I can't even listen. You don't want me to be God because half of this planet will be gone tomorrow. At least I can openly admit
Goes
that.
gay to the island now.
Bye bye. It just must be what it is.
Everybody hold on.
But here's the big thing about it, though, guys, is God would allow for you to be the king and say, "Do it your way." I'll be here when it's screwed up. Sure, do your thing.
God's like, you see that Burger King over there? Have it your way.
Do your thing. Do your thing. So it's just for me when people say when people would tell me, "Hey, your belief is rooted in faith," I would say yes, and so is your non-belief, because you don't know everything as well. But here's the difference between yours and mine. I actually have hope. You have no meaning at all. So why are we talking about this? You're cool. You have no meaning, right? Let's stop talking about it. Unless you are curious. If you're curious, let's rap a little bit.
But that's usually people's journeys, though, is that as much as they want to know about God and kind of have this, I guess what it seems like this equalization of knowing, that's part of the journey. What's interesting is that they don't realize that even with that, that's part of the journey. Even if they dismiss him, that's part of the journey, and they don't even realize that. That's why with me, like, I'll be honest, Liddell, it's hard for me to explain that to people. Because for me, I just live it. I don't question nothing. I just allow him to put me in whatever spot he needs me to. But not allow him. I'm saying that, like, I mean allow as far as like I don't control him. I let him, God will put me where he needs me. I don't want to question it. I don't want to say, God, I want $1 million right now. That's not going to get me nowhere. But if I'm led to somewhere where, not even if it's $1 million, but I'm led to somewhere where I'm broke, then that's my mission to get out of that, to become that millionaire.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And keep hustling. Even the blessing of being broke is a blessing.
Yeah.
Because it forces you to be creative. It forces you just to be creative, to how to make something out of nothing. That's the reason why when I walk into a room with someone that's starting in business or real estate or a Jerry Jones, I'm very confident. Why? I've been places that you haven't been. I can go to the hood and go to the boardroom. I can be a chameleon. You can. I can. And so that's the reason why is, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I was talking to one of my, is one of my mentors, was a family member of mine, and he's a big, strong Democrat, a liberal to the core. And he loves the Lord, but he says, anyone that supports Trump, I have to question if you even believe it. And I was like, you off base now. Because now what you're telling me is the liberal side holds the keys to the kingdom. Give me your scripture. He had nothing. Check your whole thing. This dude said you can't compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump. I said, actually, I can. So how? None of them are the king. That's how I can compare them. Who are you talking about? You know, I'm from a King Jesus. Come on, stop playing this game. But he's so married to the political ideology of the Democrat Party. He can't even see that he's even blind.
Yeah.
He can't see it. That's why I respect you, Julius. I respect you, Sunni, is because and I pray that I've been checked as well as also saying, hey, you're too confident of what you don't know. You're too confident there. Hey, relook at that. Hey, it's been times where I say, you know what, Sunni, I was wrong. Can you please forgive me? I was off on this one. My bad. That's on me. Sunni, like, cool. Ain't no problem. That's cool. Me and Sunni, we lean conservative. That's cool. Ain't no problem with it at all. We just don't think that the conservative side has all the answers. Because they don't. They kind of suck.
Yep. They do. Kind of is an understatement.
That's why Sunni, like, I totally, like synergy, I hear you when it comes to the whole 2024 the presidential whatever race. I hear you when it comes to the hype behind it, but just after watching that debate, I really don't know what's going to happen. It might still be popping off. You might, you know what I mean? Could be some people popping off and whatever.
Yeah.
But I just honestly like I don't see this bandwagon behind Joe Biden. Of course you're gonna see your Trump culters, all the old people. Let's just be real. Trump got a lot of old people, bro. Let's just be honest. Like he got no youth. All the people like if you
But
watch,
that's why it's exciting. That's why it's exciting, Julius, is because the chickens have come home to roost. Democrats are no longer relevant without their social issues. They have a walking dead zombie as their candidate. It is good that Trump is doing what he's doing. I don't agree with Trump. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that he's been doing, but I understand what this does optically. I also understand. I'm a long game person. What is this going to look like 10 years from now?
Yeah.
We're going to reference back to this moment in history where both parties had to rise to the occasion and actually do something. They can't run on social issues no more. Did you see all of us watching that debate? All they talked about was social issues, and all we wanted, what are the facts? What are the truth? You're lying here. I know you're lying there, right? And on top of that, people are no longer watching mainstream conservatives. What are viewers looking for? They want authentic, independent, objective influencers.
Yeah.
Put like this, Susu. A congressional candidate who I interviewed on my kind of podcast reached out to me and said, "Liddell, can we have a professional interview?" So what you mean? He said, I'll bring the crew, no problem. Sit down, I want you to drill me. I was like, you sure? She said, yeah. I said, is anything off limits? Nothing. I'm gonna bring that pain hardcore to the brain. I'm gonna bring it. And we gonna live stream it. We sure is. I'm gonna try live stream it. We may have to record it, and then we can live stream it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna bring it. And this is what I wanted. Is I actually want people like Julius. I'm glad what you did on the streets, man. I'm glad what you did there, man, because your name became relevant. You became known for something, which is good. I'm glad Sunni goes hard in the paint on African American issues. She may go a little extreme sometimes, but it's Sunni. That's what she do. You know what I'm talking about? It is what it is. But that's all good. Me, I'm more business and more politically savvy, but I try to walk in wisdom, okay, and try to be open to being corrected if I need to. We're having a voice now to where now they're saying, I want to sit down and talk with you guys.
Yeah,
I want to sit down and talk with you guys. Like Julius, man, I love for you, man, to interview, man, a candidate, man, on the Republican side and Democrat side. Hold, if you can, hold a debate. Hold a debate, man, for liberal in California and the conservative and even in the independent, and say, hey, let's talk some ideas, man. And you go in, bro. You go in. I said, no, this ain't make no damn sense, man, because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, you said this.
Yeah,
What you said.
It would be cool to moderate. I got one thing I gotta do, Liddell, and I know this is maybe a little bit too personal, but I gotta just get on, like, be a lot more like knowledgeable, like read the stuff, things like that, study it. Not so much read it, but study it. I just gotta start studying. That's my issue. I read a lot, I just don't study a lot, if that makes sense. But I know what you mean, though.
Bring on Max. Max knows what's going on in California.
He
Bring
really
on
does,
Max
though.
if you can. He knows it. And said, Max, pick a conservative and a liberal and an independent, whether it be from a county, city, state, or as well as federal, man, and let's have separate debates with them. And when you and I both can actually moderate, and you'll be at your crib, I'll be at my crib. They can come in via StreamYard, and y'all get it in, man. Push them.
It's important. It's important.
People trust you, man. They trust you.
I'm trying over here. I haven't gone live in over a week. I've been actually working on an intro for my YouTube channels because we have one for the Asian Man podcast.
Sure.
So I just got done doing the intro today. So when I come back, I'll have that intro, and I'm trying to do a little something different, but you guys will see. Yes, definitely working.
I'm excited. This makes me excited. I know everyone else looks and they're like, man, Trump ain't gonna win. Bro, this is bigger than Trump.
Red Pill said that she'll do it. Hey, Suni.
Yeah.
Let's go bold.
What?
Let's ask our assistant, you know who she is,
Yes.
to reach out to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Ooh, okay.
I want to interview
I'll
him
tell her that right now.
with you and Mo. And we can invite people on to ask him questions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's do that and have it going on all of our platforms. I'll put money behind it to where we can actually have it a big thing as well, and also see if she can reach out to Vivek Ramaswamy.
Okay.
Oh, we going big.
You gotta press Vivek the way Anomaly did. You gotta press him like that because Anomaly pressed him, dude. Everybody was so mad.
I didn't see it. Is it on Anomaly's YouTube page?
Yeah, he interviewed him like a month ago, and everybody
It was
got
a
so
good interview.
mad. Yeah, because Vivek only gave him a half an hour, so Anomaly had to rapid fire a bunch of stuff. But people were so mad that he was interviewing him, like pressing him, and it's like nobody
That's what
else
we're
is doing
supposed to
it.
do.
Yeah, like everybody else, like I watched other interviews he did. It was all softball interviews, and then when Anomaly pressed him, he was like, "No, this, your book, your business, your business." I just thought it was, to me, I thought it was a great interview. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, Anomaly's whatever, he's a DeSantis, whatever the case." And I
No,
was just
bro,
like,
we need to be upfront and honest with these candidates. They
Yeah.
don't just get your vote. The first look, I talked to what's his name? Guy who was running out in Cali. Legsit got behind him. Can't think of his name right now.
"Oh, I know you're talking about."
The rich guy. I know you're talking about. He's a Hispanic
Yes.
guy. Yeah. I know
Okay.
about.
Everybody, Suni, just talk to him. You'll like him. Suni, come on, just talk to him. We'll set up an Instagram live. You can talk to him. Maybe it'll change your opinions on these things. This is when I was really supporting Larry Elder. So I said, fine. I kept it all the way straight with him. Don't talk to me like a used car salesman. Help me understand why you're the better candidate. Guess what he did? Crumbled. He crumbled. When you're just straightforward with them like that, like I don't want you to. I'm not softballing you. I'm not interested in anything you got going on PC. I want to know why we should vote for you. Period.
Yeah.
And study them. Study them. Okay, you said this last month. How does this line up here?
Yeah, I remember that interview too because when you asked him a question, not about race per se, but it kind of tied to that, and the way he framed it, I remember like just watching, being like, "Oh Lord, he done went that route." I was like, "Come on, bro!" Like, he gave such a political answer, and I was like, even I was like, I thought he was cool, but man, he's just not. And I'll be honest, I hate to say this, but people got behind him. It was like, "Oh, he's gonna represent Mexicans." And I was like, "I don't know, man. If
The
y'all
first
just like
thing
each
he
other, it's
said,
race."
dude,
Like,
the first thing he said to me was, "You're a mom, right? You're a mom, right, Sonny?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a mom." Well, I'm gonna fight for you and your kids. I'm just like, bro, do you know who you talking to? That don't work on me. You gonna have to come up with something better than that. Okay, you gonna fight for me? I fight for me and my kids every day. I have a man who fights for his family every day. I don't need you to do that. I need you to
by him,
tell me why we should vote for you.
by him saying that, he gave you the 9 famous words. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help.
He really did.
You're like, "Yep, not voting for you."
At all.
I don't think what was his name. Like, I see his name across that hat. I just can't think of
I
it.
just can't think of his name either. Nah.
It was like, I see it too. I see that hat with the blue and red. I see it with the white hat he had. I just can't think of his name.
Red Pill knows his name.
I ain't gonna lie to you. The envy that
Tremino. That's what it was. Yeah.
Anthony Tremino. Anthony
Yeah,
Tremino.
he had pizza name.
The interview that I had with the what's his name, the
Peter
congressman,
Hernandez.
he's solid.
Solid.
His specifics, I pressed him. Now you gonna do that? No, they ain't mean. How you gonna do that? Okay, no, what that look like? I'm going to go a little bit deeper there, and he was boom, 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 and I just said, okay, why is this dude not in the forefront of the California GOP? What the problem?
Exactly.
Because they don't want base people like him, or I would even say Dan Mercury. I interviewed Dan Mercury actually. He's actually pretty cool. Like I actually like Dan Mercury. He's not like he don't answer things in the way a politician does. He's like
I
serious.
like him too. I like him
Like
too.
he's the type to come into the Senate room with a machine gun and just wipe them all out and then be like, "All right, guys, you got your jobs. Go do it." He's pretty base, man. Like he's pretty cool. The fact that he
Let's
even
take them
talks to
all out.
people, like, yeah, what I always like about him is that he talks to people. Like he'll join a live not as a politician. He joins a live as a father. You know what I mean? With
Mhm.
Anthony Trimino, it was like this mob boss kind of
Yeah.
style to him, and it's like every answer has to be political. Like he just, I'm not saying he was a bad dude, but he just
Yeah.
came off like I got this already, like a little.
He's not a
cocky.
bad look. I don't think Tremino's a bad guy. I think Tremino probably came in with the best intentions, but when he couldn't answer very, very pointed questions, and then when he started to have people around him answering questions and they couldn't answer questions, the main thing that he really caught a lot of slack for was the marketing the jab to minority communities. And his campaign couldn't effectively answer that question.
All he had
They
to say
couldn't.
was, this is what politicians, if you listen to your partner, okay? If you made a mistake, here's a new flash. Own it.
Yeah.
Just say, man, you know what? At the time, I thought it was a good idea, and we implemented it. At looking back at it in hindsight, guys, I actually made a mistake. My bad. I could do this better. I could do this better. This could this better. This is what I learned. This is how I would apply it this time. Oh, you're not God. You're a finite person. You're going to make mistakes. Stop trying to project this perfection because you're not perfect.
Right.
You're not.
Facts.
It's something.
I agree with that.
It's something.
See, this is why I'm excited, Julius, because independent journalists, this is our time to actually hold people accountable, to bring them on the shows, to ask the questions that mainstream media does not ask. I encourage our viewers, you guys should send questions in. Anytime you know we're about to interview a candidate, send those questions in. We can even do our very own version of town hall meetings. Like we don't need Fox News. We don't need any of this. We need people who have a common interest in actually pushing America forward.
Yeah.
Why can't any of this stuff be done?
Yeah, and I know this is very minute to say, but especially when we screen record it, like we get those gems and we post it on social media and it circles around.
Exactly.
That definitely does. That helps out a lot. Like when I share little things like that, it goes around. I mean, even if it's some other content, like when I share ET entertainment of that actress talking about she wants to get paid for just being there or something like that, that got a lot of views. I mean, a lot. Like.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But stuff like that helps, you know.
Yep. But
late time ago, I don't think that Biden's going to run though.
Biden's not going to run. You know who's running? You want to know how I know? You want to know? Hold on, let me show you. Your mouth's going to hit the floor. This is how I know this person is going to run. I saw this yesterday. Now, you tell me if this makes any sort of sense and why DeSantis would even agree to this.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh yeah, I already knew what you were talking about. The moment you said Biden's not going to run, I already knew what you're going to talk about because
boom, we already know who's running. Gavin Newsom's running as a Democratic nominee.
Here's the
it's
thing
going to be him and
though.
Kamala.
So who's going to be the VP, Kamala or him?
Kamala. Kamala won't be the president. She will not get the votes. She will not get the votes.
How's the Democrats going to rationalize that for the equity type of scenario? Because now you have a white man again running in a senior position over a black woman.
Ooh, true. Dang, you bring up another point.
True. But
she has to step aside.
But you're not wrong about that. But here's the issue with that. Because Gavin Newsom is such a liar and heavily involved with all the agenda, they shrug that off all the time. As long as it's just like the BLM stuff, he might as well put a BLM shirt on and be the people from 2020. As long as you got that, you're fine. You're solid. He may say things I'd be like, okay, it's a little weird, but he's with the agenda. They might say something but they'll forget about it in like 24 hours.
So what you're saying is the black section of the Democrat Party, who was all really about championing Harris and how she's going to be the next president, she's going to willfully step aside for another white man.
Yeah, and okay. The reason why especially when you mentioned like the black Democrats, first of all, black Democrats already praised Newsom for that natural hair thing. They already praised him for that. And so and then the reparation that they keep on talking about, all they gotta say those two things and then throw in gay. Easy. It's an easy slam dunk.
I don't know.
If anything, Liddell will make that point. We will make that point of, wait a minute, where's the equity? And you know what happens? Then that allows for us to enter the room and talk about what's actually going on. Yeah. I don't think Democrats are going to care. I don't think Kamala's going to care. Kamala's just happy to be there at this point.
I'm rocking with you, but I would say and this is me thinking from a Kamala standpoint, for her to be one heartbeat away from the Oval Office, and the guy there is damn near finna die, and I pray he doesn't die, but he's on his way out. And President Biden, here's for her to be skipped over again for Gavin Newsom, and she said, "Cool with that," and knowing how she loves the spotlight.
Yeah.
So you think it'd be a fight?
I mean, look.
What I'm saying is she has to willfully step aside.
Yeah.
This is why I believe that there's a dark horse in this whole thing that people may think about. It's Michelle Obama.
I knew you was gonna say that.
Michelle Obama.
That's gonna be a conversation about Michelle Obama, but I'm not trying to be. I'm gonna be comical and I'm gonna be dumb. I'm gonna be dumb. Honestly, Adele, a lot of black women they love white men. I'm just saying that's why Gavin Newsom gets a pass. They see this little handsome guy talking about they're trying to ban books and we care about black people. We care about them, and I'm telling you, he's gonna win the vote.
He's a confident liar. So he's a confident liar. That man can lie.
He is. Yes, he is a confident bro. Watch that clip I posted on Instagram. Watch that clip when he got interviewed about whether or not he's going to clean California. Is that a political agenda? He's like, that's exactly how he answered. You're like, bro, this dude is a liar. Like, this should show everybody that he is a liar. He couldn't answer the question. It's worse than Trump. But people are not going to care, though. I mean, I can show them that, but they still won't care. They'll be like, whatever. He's getting an abortion, so
you may be right. For if Kamala allows that to happen, I agree with Sunni. She just wants to be in the spotlight. I just want to be on the stage because to me, she's not really a smart lady.
I don't think she wants it.
She doesn't.
Yeah,
really? If she did, let's be honest. If Kamala wanted the presidency, and it's right there. She's 2 steps away from Oval. Kamala would be out here. Kamala, they would have a campaign behind her. Yep. Kamala would be the forefront. Biden would be off somewhere asleep.
Yeah.
So
she's not in the forefront ever.
Or are they trying to, with what's coming out with the Hunter Biden stuff and the Wire and all stuff as well? Do you think the Democrat Party is trying to force him not to run?
Yes, in a way. I do think they are. Because they're now asking questions about Hunter.
So why won't they? How can I say this? So why won't they allow for someone to? Well, I know why, because that's politically stupid. If they allow for a sitting president to be a primary, that's going to be dumb. And they're all about the party.
Yeah. It's one thing that I think we all commend Democrats on is their cohesiveness. Even in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
They're in tandem.
They will tell you up front, we are degenerate and we don't care. Republicans are like, we're Christian, but behind closed doors, they're the total opposite. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They're not honest about who they really are.
They're
Just
not
be
in
honest.
lockstep. The Democrats are in
Yeah.
lockstep. As long as this is how I look at it, right? Democrats are utilizing like nepotism at a high level. Everyone there is going to get their shot in some way, form, or fashion if you play the game right, depending on who you know.
Sure.
Everybody there. So they don't got to trip. They don't have to trip. The only reason they're tripping is because of Trump, because he brings a sense of awareness to this entire thing that was not here before. But they don't give a crap.
These Bammers don't care that we see the corruption, we see the gaslighting, we see the lies. One liberal that we all know on Instagram, when I actually posted about the rates being at 8%, I said it's official. Mortgage rates are at 8%, and this is a paper, okay? Debt borrows. This Bama said, Liddell, you can't complain about interest rates and inflation in the same breath. I just said, but that is
called him Obama.
he said all the inflation is due to the stimulus that Trump infused into the economy.
This is what I mean. You see how dedicated they are to the delusion? They are committed to the delusion, to the scam. They're committed. That's why they win. Republicans, bro, they get exposed and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Democrats don't come out and say sorry for nothing.
That real talk Trump like, man, whatever. Hey, why are we taking people from these SO countries? This is ridiculous. And I'd be like, you can't say that, but you right.
Yeah.
You right. I got him. And then they'll say this person's dumb, and I'm like, you can't be saying that, but
you right.
It's pretty dumb, though.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's a bit Trump. You like, this dude is just don't give a F.
Yeah.
And he like, cool. This is how I am in front of the camera and behind closed doors. Like, I know who I'm gonna get. I know who I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get somebody to come in and kick crap over and say, I'm F you, and your mama too, and your grandma that's dead too. And I'm like, this here, God damn, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we need disruptors. Like, don't get me wrong. I think we need disruptors at this level, the representative level, and I mean real disruptors, not people who are gonna bend over and conform the second they get a little attention, but people who are solely there. This is another thing that Democrats do. Great. They will pick someone and their sole purpose is to cause chaos and disrupt. They have no other position. They have no other goal, no other ambition. We don't utilize any of this stuff. We don't. We don't even want to participate in ethical propaganda. That makes no sense to me.
I'm trying to figure out why hasn't any type of Republican AG, district attorney, anybody done pulled the screws on Hunter Biden yet? What we doing? You mean tell me he ain't committed no crimes in Republican areas? He just been in just liberal areas, huh?
Come on.
That's what we doing?
Yeah. Because there's something happening. Somebody's pulling their strings.
Yeah.
Somebody's pulling their strings. And it sucks because they can never be honest. That's why like the Democrats don't care. Like it's almost like they know they're puppets, but they don't care. Whereas with Republicans, it's like they're puppets, but they want to hide it as the fact that they're puppets because they want to look like a certain way. And it's like you gotta just be honest, bro. Like I honestly, I'm not a politician. I don't know anything about that stuff. But if I was up there, I'd be like, listen, this is what I want as president. I just want to put a wall up, get people trying to get into the country, illegally apprehend them, send them back, stop abortion. I'll be so honest. I'll just be like, I'm not gonna say this. If somebody asked me about the whole LGBT, I'd be like, I don't support that stuff. Like, just I don't support that stuff. I want traditionalism back again. Can we get that back, please? I want God back.
Did y'all hear that Bama Hank Johnson out of Texas. Well, a Fox News lady reporter came up to him and says, "What do you have to say about the border?" Right? And he asked her, "Have you ever been down to the border before?" She said, "I actually have several times, and it's been overran right now. People just walking in." This Bama said, "I think you're talking to the wrong people and getting bad information."
What? What?
Hold on. So she's been there, and he's telling her that what she saw with her eyes wasn't real.
Don't trust your eyes. Don't believe it.
This is a black liberal just denying all reality. They're saying, nope, the sky is orange. It's not blue.
Yeah.
It's not blue. I am not peeing on you. This is rain.
You
That's
know,
what's going on.
I'm surprised AOC is not at the border in Texas crying like this.
Fake crying.
Watching people get through the little tunnel thing, little lights and all that stuff. Like, where's she at? She's not there.
God, man.
And
She was definitely there when it was empty. She was there when it was empty under Trump. But now people are crawling through. Which by the way, that seems very bizarre. Look, this is gonna sound weird, but I'm just gonna random off the cuff. So I'm watching this video with Jorge Ventura. Great guy, by the way, always at the border reporting. Appreciate that dude. But when he was there, I don't know, maybe it just looked weird to me. Maybe he couldn't do anything about it. I get it. But he's like, pretend I'm him, right? Literally next to him, there's a woman with a cardboard trying to get through the barbed wire. And he's
I saw those pictures.
Yeah, he's reporting it as it's happening. I don't know why that just looked weird. I'm like, is he supposed to watch her get through these barbed wires? And she had the kid with her. I'm like, he knows. I was just so confused,
bro. I thought the same thing. I was like, this is a photo op. This is not real.
But Jorge Ventura is he's very genuine when he covers the border. Like to watch him watch a woman with a cardboard with her baby go through the barbed wire, and he's reporting it as it happened. I'm like, is he? I know he's not supposed to do anything. It was just weird. He was just so close. So I'm just like, why can't we just as American citizens just stop it? Just say no. No.
He said no.
I don't know.
No. This was fun. I can't wait to do this more often. And
it was a lot of
really fun. Talk about the issues and what we need to focus on. But I'm gonna be coming back. I will be back. If not tomorrow, I will be back Friday to discuss the Eddie Irizarry shooting. This shooting, in my most personal, humble opinion, this is an egregious thing that is happening. All charges were dropped against this officer. I'm going to run the clip just because it's only about 7 minutes until this man loses his life. But just to give you guys a little cliffhanger, this man was being followed due to erratic driving. He was driving slow, and he also turned down a one-way street. This alerted cops. They got behind him, followed him. He eventually went down a one-way street and stopped. And this is what we see once he stopped. Oh, shoot. Ooh, I'm sorry. Let's go back.
Show that fucking. Show that. I'll fucking shoot you. 413 shots fired. Shots fired.
Now we're going to stop it there. Police initial statement was that he lunged at them with a knife. This man never left the car. He poses no threat. He is in a car. The cops are not in front of the car. They're at the side. Why they were able to drop every single charge. A judge dismissed the charges against this cop.
Jesus.
When you say he lunged at him with a knife, we didn't clearly see the door open up. This is what I'm trying to look at every scenario here. I wonder, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I wonder, if he was in the car, if the officer said, "I'm gonna effing shoot you," if in the car he got up like this, like if he was in the car, I'm not saying that's justifiable. I'm just saying if that's what he meant by lunging, but we didn't see him open his car. We nothing like that, and he shot through the window. My thing is this: is that through the window, how can you think he's a threat if he's in the car through the window? Like he doesn't got powers. Like he just, I don't
So
know.
this is the initial. This is the initial statement from officers, and this will be the last thing I say on this because I do want people to tune in. I'm gonna get said. I'm gonna get a few other people to come on, and I'm going to
Good.
bring on some people who are in opposition to said. Because I don't know where he's going to lie in this situation, but I do think it's very important and it's imperative for the general public to see all of us together on subjects such as these, whether we're Democrat, Republican, Antifa, it doesn't matter. Cops, their initial statement was, and I'm reading this verbatim, they ordered him to drop a weapon multiple times while he was outside of the vehicle. At no point do you see him outside of the vehicle on any of the body cam footage. Any. He has not left the car. They also say, oops, hold on, let me go back. But later, the outlaw later, this is the guy who's giving the statement, I'm sorry. He later stated that the shooting occurred while the man was inside the vehicle, citing body-worn camera footage. And quote unquote from him, this made it very clear that what we initially reported was not actually what happened. So not only do you have officers not being truthful about what happened on the scene, you have officers shooting a man through a window. Both officers have guns drawn on him and he poses no threat. The car is not on. He's got a knife laying on his thigh. Where was your life in danger?
Yeah, especially with that's what I was saying, with the car door closed and the window up. How can he feel like his life is in danger? Now, if the guy got out, that's one thing. Obviously, if he gets out and tries to lunge, then that's one thing. But if he's just sitting there with a knife on, you know what that reminds me of, Sunny? That reminds me of a story where, what was it? Where like it was the one where the guy was in his car. I think where he fell asleep in his car or something like that, and this is like back in like 2020, I think it was. A guy fell asleep in his car at a fast food place in the drive-through.
Oh, Rashard Brooks.
I don't know. I don't know if it was that one. I think it was a different one. He was laying in his car and there was a gun on his lap, and the officer knocked and he woke up not knowing anything, and then the officer shot him. To that, I disagree with, because when you're sleeping, somebody wakes you up, you really be like, don't know what's going on the first few seconds. When you have a gun on your lap, when you pass out, you forget what's even next to you, like in the other seat. You know what I mean? So there are times I pass out when I'm doing Lyft. I pass out in the car. I forget my cell phone's next to me. You know what I mean? So it's like when he wakes up and the gun's right there. I think the officer shot him. That I didn't agree with, because it's like it sucked that he had a gun on him. I mean, that's his responsibility to not have a gun out in the open. I mean, but nonetheless, I wouldn't justify the fact that the cop did that. I mean, people got mad at me pointing this out. I was like, listen, I'm not saying the officer's right. I'm saying that it sucks he had a gun on his lap. Maybe he'd be more responsible, but I don't agree with it. Oh, but God, you can't just say that. I'm like, no, I'm saying I don't agree with it. I'm just saying, don't bring a gun on the lap and fall asleep. that's all I'm saying.
In your car. Yeah, I get that. No, but we're gonna bring that show back because I didn't see not one conservative cover this, not one.
Yeah,
and I have a theory about why they didn't cover it, but you have to tune in to see why.
Side note too, I haven't seen the two big conservatives, Candace or Brandon, talk about Larry Elder. That's why I said tomorrow I'm gonna go live, but I'll talk about it live with you guys. If you guys talk about it, I'll go on you guys' show if you allow me to. But I'll talk about it tomorrow on my show for sure, because I don't see anybody talking about the Larry Elder situation.
You want to know what else they won't discuss?
Of that, saying if you go to your friend and you know that it was not meant that way, and you marry it with Stephen threatened to hit me, Dr. Walker,
threatened to hit me.
You want to play those games? You want to play those games? I'll play those games. I will fuck you up Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that, Hillary. I didn't mean it that way. Way too far.
That's exactly what happened. I will actually say that what Stephen is saying right now is exactly what happened. Okay, that terrified me, and that is way too far, and it can't.
But it's way too far to claim that I've ever been violent, threatened violence.
And you know what? Let me tell you something I appreciate. Okay. I appreciate that the way that he just communicated what happened to you is.
What'd you catch?
I didn't notice it before, but it's when he says, was it too far to say that I was violent?
Yes.
Hold on, is that me?
No.
Oh,
yes.
is that me? Yeah.
He did.
When he said, yeah, when he said, "Is it?" I told people that she even admitted that he wasn't abusive, and they're like, "No, he's abusive." I'm like, if you listen now, he just said, "Was it too far to say that I was violent?" Meaning that she was basically saying something that wasn't true.
Why are conservatives quiet? Why are the mainstream conservatives who put this narrative out not walking it back? When is Steven Crowder going to sue the crap out of everyone for defamation of character? I'm actually looking forward to his response when he's able to speak on this, because
I'm surprised he hasn't watched my YouTube. I covered the whole thing. Steven, I'm on your side, buddy. Watch my YouTube. Bring me on your show. I will do this for you. I'll put Steven Crowder right here. I had to do Black Lives Matter. Steven Crowder right here.
I'll even wait for the light to turn on for when you tell me it's my turn to talk. It's okay.
The on-air thing, just things like this.
Make sure y'all stay on the lookout for those that panel and the specific shows that I'm going to be doing, and make sure you tune in on Friday. Me and Mo have a show. Tune in also for Liddell's show. Tune in for the Counter Move podcast. Tune in for Real Estate Fridays. I've watched it a few times. Wealth of information. Yeah, and we'll keep coming with content. But this debate was lackluster. It sucked. I feel like I wasted a couple hours of my life sitting here listening to them talk about absolutely nothing.
Can't get it back. Can't get it back.
I mean, who is this skinny guy with a funny last name?
Team Sharpie. He did good tonight. Okay, I got to give it to him. He did good tonight.
He was the best one on stage. It's very easy to see that.
He did. Well, thank you guys for coming on and chilling with me tonight.
Thank you, sister.
I will catch you.
Yeah. All right, y'all.
God bless.
They say the song's so offensive, but only if you get offended. I can't offend you without your permission, and you don't even have to listen. They say the song's so offensive.